Welcome to our Teacher of the Year celebration program. This year, we're pleased to recognize and celebrate 40 years of recognizing Teachers of the Year here in St. Lucie County. But throughout the history of the world, we have witnessed the greatness of teachers. All of us can recall a certain teacher, a very special someone who inspired us to learn. They were all visionaries who led by example and whose actions transformed lives. Every day, we, along with 100 million parents, entrust our children to teachers. These surrogate parents not only teach reading, writing, and math, but also social skills along with social studies, self-esteem with spelling, and citizenship, as well as science, just to name a few. So what does it mean to be a great teacher? Of course, credentials, knowledge, critical thinking, along with other faculties of intelligence that are so very important. However, a great teacher should be much more than the credentials, experience, and intelligence. So what lies at the heart of great teachers? They're kind, compassionate, empathetic, positive. They're builders, and they inspire us all. This program presents some extraordinary men and women whose timeless wisdom echoes the integrity, character, and passion of educators across our district and across our nation. This program is a tribute to and for teachers and celebrates the special and often heroic role they play in the lives of students. This program is, in our small way, an opportunity to say thank you to those who educate, encourage, empower, and inspire the students of our community. Congratulations to all of these Teachers of the Year for the year 2020, and we celebrate 40 years of recognizing teachers in St. Lucie Public Schools. At this time, we're going to welcome to our Teacher of the Year celebration show, the awesome Mr. Cody Rubenstein. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Cody is the wonderful Teacher of the Year for Morningside Elementary School. He's brought along with him the awesome, proud principal for Morningside, Miss Kathleen Melrose. Melrose, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Mr. Rubenstein, it is always a pleasure for us to have the opportunity to do this show because it gives us the prime opportunity to share the wonderful teachers that we have here in St. Lucie Public Schools with all of our viewers. Now, I know everybody from Morningside is tuning in to hear what Mr. Rubenstein and Ms. Melrose are going to talk about with Dr. Perry today. But we have some viewers that may not know who you are. So if you would, just give us a little bit about your background, the schools that you're attending, and what you're currently teaching out at Morningside.
Sure. So I'm originally from Connecticut. So my family came down when I was about 18 years old, and I went to University of North Florida up in Jacksonville. Got my bachelor's degree there with an ESOL endorsement. So I had a little focus there. And then I moved to Port St. Lucie right after I finished college. And now we're at Morningside teaching third grade all subjects.
Cool, third grade all subjects. So Mr. Rubenstein, what would a typical day in Mr. Rubenstein's third grade classroom look like?
It's hard to say that because every single day changes and not one day is the same. That's what's the joy of teaching, in my opinion, because you never know what to expect the minute you walk in the door. But we always do some review bell ringers in the beginning of the day. I welcome the kids, greet them at the door, making sure that they're welcomed and that we start the day off with some face-to-face engagement and personalities, figuring out if it was a Monday, what they did on the weekend, just to kind of get inside their personal lives and make that connection. And then we do a lot of cooperation and a lot of cooperative learning strategies, some Kagan, some group work, a lot of times too, we take the data through exit tickets, and we form small groups from that, doing some differentiation skills, and making sure that students have the opportunity to learn in all different areas and environments.
So, Mrs. Melrose,
Yes.
you have the opportunity to watch the magic happen in Mr. Rubenstein's room every day.
I do.
From your vantage point, what's a day like in his room? Tell us how you feel, what you see, what you hear.
Mr. Rubenstein's room is dynamic. When you open the door and you walk in, you feel like you just walked into someone's home. So first and foremost, it's the environment that is so inviting. He puts so much time into decorating his room. One of his gifts for sure is his creativity with that. But the room atmosphere is unlike no other. So as soon as you walk in, you just feel at ease. And then when you watch the magic happen, that's where it really gets good, because it is definitely a student-centered classroom. It's definitely about the kids, and the kids are fully engaged in conversation and thinking, and they're not afraid to do so. So that's definitely one of the great positives about his classroom when you walk in and just see it live in action.
So, Mr. Rubenstein, have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher, or did you decide later?
I think I've always known I've wanted to become a teacher. I remember when I was in elementary school myself, and you would always get those questions, what do you want to be when you grow up? And from the get-go, I've always said I wanted to become a teacher. I remember when I was very little, and I would line up all my stuffed animals and quiz them and play school.
Did they answer?
Yeah. In my mind, yes. And then even in like middle school or high school, when we would have like tests or upcoming quizzes, I was always the go-to person with flashcards or practice quizzes, or kind of like the mini teacher in itself. And I actually, in high school, I was the president of our tutoring committee, and worked with academic skills there, and taught some of my fellow friends and people in the high school. So that was really fun.
So tell me, when you look back, do you think that there may be a teacher or multiple teachers that inspired you to become an educator?
I think there's definitely the positive teachers and also the negative influences too, because you have those experiences and you want to kind of think about them and reflect about them, but also realize that you don't want to become, unfortunately, one of the negative statistics too. So thinking about how that really made you feel, you want to make sure that that experience doesn't affect other people. But definitely when I think of like positive teachers, my second grade teacher, Mrs. LaRufa, and each single time we would get like a really high score on a test or even hundreds, she was Irish, so she would get on her desk and do a little Irish jig and little celebration. So that was something that we all kind of cheered for, and we kind of wanted to make sure that if there was somebody who got 100, that we were cheering them on and being really supportive. And that's something that I take from that experience and instill in my classroom too, making sure that we're all supportive of each other.
So let's give a big high five to Miss LaRufa right now.
Yes.
Thank you, Miss LaRufa, yes. So tell me, what's your favorite part of teaching?
I think definitely for third grade, because they come in as second graders and they leave as fourth graders. You just see such a big dynamic change, and not just their size, because some of them they walk in the first day and you really think like, were they this small when they started last year? But definitely their skill set and their confidence, and I really feel like they grow as not just students but as people in general. They leave with some more social skills and some more positivity, and they really think, you know what, in the beginning I might have struggled, but at the end of this, like, I'm becoming a better reader, I'm becoming a better mathematician, and they just leave with more confidence and more kind of positivity that they might not have had coming into the experience.
Miss Melrose.
Yes.
Describe Mr. Rubenstein for me using 3 adjectives, and of course you need to explain why.
Sure. First and foremost, Cody is definitely compassionate. And when I say that, not just about the students, but just about the whole school in general. Even his fellow colleagues. If someone's just not having a good day or something hasn't gone right for them, he's the first one to come up with a coffee for them. You know, here's a cup of coffee, or how can I help you? And he does the same thing with his students, always asking his students, how are you? You know, why the frown on your face today? We had a student that had a tragedy in their life, and in the front of the office was this beautiful care basket. And I was like, what is this and where did it come from? And they explained to me that Mr. Rubenstein made it for the family who had that tragedy in their lives. And it was just full of compassion and letters to the family and just positive notes. So that's how he views everybody on that campus. So he's very compassionate across the board. Hardworking. I know everybody says hardworking, but he doesn't stop. I have the text to prove it. He's constantly working and constantly looking for another way to do something if it did not work. He's very, well, now I'm going to say another one, but he is very data-driven, so he doesn't stop. If that data doesn't look the way he wanted it to, or he didn't reach that child that he needed to do, he's just constantly trying to find something else to make sure he reaches each and every child. So definitely hardworking, compassionate, and dedicated. He's there early in the morning and he's there late at night, and he's dedicated to the school community as a whole, for sure.
So you're the teacher of the year at Morningside. What advice would you offer a new teacher?
I think definitely just never give up, because it's definitely worth it, and there is a lot of hard work on the forefront. But then when you see, like I mentioned, when you see the students' growth and you see their confidence gain, it just makes you feel so much better, not just as a person, but as an educator. And making sure that we've all failed somewhat in our lives, and if you don't get it the first time, that's okay. There's always a second round, or there's always someone there to help you, support you, assist you. And that's like what Mrs. Melrose was saying, the whole community at Morningside, like we are there to help each other. If one of us is having a bad day, like it's not just me, but it's all the others that working together, and it really reminds me of like the saying, it takes a village to raise a child, just like it takes a whole school to raise a teacher. It's just we cannot succeed without everybody in the whole community, schools, parents, even students themselves.
So we think of third grade as being a gateway grade. We talk about how students learn to read until third grade, and then they're reading to learn. But with the standards and the expectations that come with the third grade class, you are often charged with having major conversations, continuous conversations with parents. What advice do you give parents to help them ensure that their child would be a success?
I would definitely say the support is definitely a positive thing. I have a lot of parental support. And a lot of parental communication, and that's something that I love because it not only provides accountability for the student and making sure like Mr. Rubenstein's here to help me get stronger at my skill and to gain confidence and to get better, but also mom and dad or aunt and uncle or grandma, grandpa, whatever the case may be. But also it takes time, just like if you're thinking about like riding a bike. You don't just do it once and you're done and you've mastered that skill. It's going to take time and to practice and to have faith and confidence.
So third grade, again, is the gateway, right? So what are your goals for this year for third grade, your third grade class?
I definitely think that every year, but specifically this year, one of my main goals is to help them become more dependent and more like reflective, so they're not always going to myself or another peer for support once in a while maybe, but to have that kind of self-correction and to maybe think aloud and to talk themselves through it, because some of the times they might need help, but then when they come to me and I might prompt them a little bit and then they take off running. And some of them are like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Or I can't believe I did this. So making sure that they're reflective in their learning. And like Mrs. Melrose was saying, if you set a goal And that's something too, I want to make sure that they're goal driven, not just short term in this year, but long term in the years forthcoming, and making sure that if you meet or if you set a goal and you don't reach it, what can you do next time to beat that goal? If you got a 50 and you got a 55 this time, that's improvement. You might have improved 5 points, but you're still getting there, right? Because I have a girl this year, this is her second year in America. She is an absolute pleasure to have in class, and she works so hard. And the first time around, she was struggling, but the last test, she did really well, and she always works hard. And that's something that I communicate with the kids, that with hard work and dedication and commitment, like, you're gonna succeed.
Yes. Ms. Melrose, to be the teacher of the year, he doesn't just sit in his classroom with his kids.
No.
So what other activities do we find Mr. Rubenstein involved in that actually helps Morningside be the great school that it is?
The question is, what activities does he not participate in? So in an elementary school, we do like to get dressed up a lot for different events, and he's always the first one to
Go above and beyond.
Oh, yeah, above and beyond, for
Okay, well.
sure. So he likes to participate in all of the Spirit Day events we have, all of the PBIS events. So he is always front and center in those type events. But we started something this year. Actually, him and another teacher started this year. We have Blue Jay Buddies at our school, and it's something new. And it is, we have older kids who are good role models, who are serving as a peer to someone younger who may be struggling in different areas. So they do that once a week in the morning, and they buddy the kids up, and they guide those conversations between the Blue Jay Buddies. So that was something really big for our school that was started as part of our social emotional learning, and it's really benefited the kids. So he's been a great asset to that. He's also very creative. I've mentioned his classroom before. So we call on him a lot for designing things for our school, such as our MLK float or our MLK shirts. And those are the things he just jumps right in on, and he participates in Bowl for Kids' Sake events. Everything that we have, his name is always attached to being a participant or a leader in. So we're very grateful and thankful to have him on campus for sure.
Well, that's how you become the teacher of the year.
Yes.
Yes. So, Mr. Rubenstein, when did you first fall in love with teaching?
Like I said before, I've always known I've wanted to become a teacher, but I don't think it was really until my first year as a teacher that I kind of started to gain that confidence and really thought to myself, you know what, like, I can really do this, I can make an impact on students. Because I remember specifically, and I still have a picture of me and him on my desk to this day, one of my students, at the time I was teaching 4th grade, but one of my students struggled just a lot with personal things, and I was that mentor for him and just helped him kind of take those pieces of things at home that he does bring to school, and to let him know that we are all here to help him learn, and to make sure that I was that positive role model in his life, to kind of check in and check out with. And at the end of the school year, he thanked me, and after he graduated, he gave me positive affirmation and let me know that without my help, he wouldn't have been as successful, and he kind of saw me as like a school dad. So that to me really touched me, and it really made me realize that we as teachers do have an impact on our students, not just with academics, but also in the social and personal areas too.
Ms. Melrose, what makes Mr. Rubenstein the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
His love for, and it sounds like everybody says, his love for children, his love for teaching, but it's genuine. It's a genuine love, and it's just a natural calling for him. And I think he would represent our county well. He is standards-based, he has that rigor, and he has that love. And he always puts the social and emotional learning of his students first and foremost, and then layers in that academic piece, because if you don't have the one, you're never going to have the other. And you see the perfect harmony of that in his classroom. So I think that's why he would be the perfect choice for St. Lucie County.
So, Mr. Rubenstein, what are you most proud about from working at Morningside?
I think just Morningside in general, and we've discussed this and we've said this before, but it's just a fun, comfortable place, and it really is like a home. Like Mrs. Melrose said, I'm there at least until 5:30, 6 every single day, but it's just like it makes you feel comfortable, and that's something that I make sure that my students feel as well. You know, our classroom family, it's a place where you might struggle, but you should feel comfortable struggling. And our school community as a whole, I think, is just really positive. It's very interactive, and it's just a place where you just love to work, and a place where I truthfully don't even want to leave sometimes. Like, you're just so dedicated, and we always have fun activities. The kids have a blast, and that's what school should be. It should be rigorous and fun at the same time, so that the kids look forward to coming to school. Then they're upset maybe going home, but they look forward to coming back the next day.
So, you're the 2020 Teacher of the Year for Morningside, which makes you the ambassador for education. If you had an opportunity to speak to lawmakers or other citizens, what would your message be?
That's a good question.
What do you think they need to know, our public needs to know? You're the ambassador.
I definitely think people, and I know people have addressed this issue with me personally, but also, like, we really do work our butts off. We really try our hardest, and we are very dedicated, and we want to make sure that we put forth 110%. I know for third grade, my whole team, we are very dedicated, we're driven, we work together, and just to really instill that we as teachers, we have a lot of rules, we have a lot of hats that we wear daily, and just to really, sometimes you just need that confirmation that you're doing a really great job, which Mrs. Melrose and Mrs. Lopez and every teacher, we all talk and we all commend ourselves.
Franklin D. Roosevelt said, "We cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future." Thank you for doing a great job building the youth for the future that are in your third grade class, and we congratulate you for being the Teacher of the Year for Morningside. Ms. Melrose, thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable, and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Welcome at this time to our Teacher of the Year celebration, Mr. Zachary Young. Mr. Young, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
And congratulations on your selection as Teacher of the Year for Savannah Ridge Elementary.
Yes, thanks.
He's brought along with him the wonderful principal there, Mr. Roberto Bonsignor. Mr. Bonsignor, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, we know that everybody at Savannah Ridge tuned in just to see what's going to be said and what's going to be talked about today. But we have some awesome viewers that are always tuning into our station, supporting everything that we do here at our TV shows. And we want you to introduce yourself to them as well. So give us a little bit about your background, Mr. Young, please.
My name is Zachary Young, and I'm a career changer. I wasn't always a teacher. I started off in the aviation industry and then went into automation and spent a lot of time in that. And I recently switched over to teaching, being urged by my wife, and after receiving my master's degree from Florida Atlantic University.
Cool, cool. Welcome to the profession.
Thank you.
Mr. Bonsignor, would you please also introduce yourself for our viewers?
Sure. Well, I'm originally from the Dominican Republic, raised in New York City, and I've been in education for 20 years, and 10 of those years have been here in St. Lucie County, which I've made my home. I'm a graduate from the University of Miami. I have taught in the Bronx, Brooklyn, North Miami, and in Fort Pierce, and Fort St. Lucie as well, and I'm proud to be a member of St. Lucie County Public Schools.
Cool. So, you told me that you were a career changer. So why did you choose this profession?
What made me really interested in teaching was the long-term results, the long-term consequences and of what you do daily. When I was in automation, the decisions we made and the work that we did might have affected the company for that day or that week or that month. And when I was in aviation, what you did would affect the flight of aircraft for, you know, that day or that week or that month. But we get to make long-term impacts in education where what we teach a child today could be something that really sticks with them for 20, 30, 40 years, their entire life, and maybe even sometimes things they'll pass down to their children. We really get to make a long-term lasting impact in people's lives and in the world by teaching. And I really like that compared to the short-term returns that I was getting in other occupations.
So tell me, what's a typical day like in Mr. Young's class?
Typical day. I'm a fourth grade teacher.
So what's typical, right?
Yes. That's one thing that's great about teaching is no 2 days are exactly the same. But yes, a typical day. The students come in and I try to get them to have fun and be engaged and enjoy and be interested in what they're working on. And so a typical day will start off with some harmony lessons where we get to talk with each other about things that maybe happened the night before, things that excited us, and then kind of transition from that into the day's lessons and how we can kind of relate things that we've done at home or away from school to what we're learning in school and the topics. And you know, we kind of try to add some of that into our writing, and when we're reading, we kind of reflect back to that. And of course, we teach all subjects in fourth grade, so we do a little bit of that with the science also. I love connecting science with their outside lives. And then we finish the day with math. And it's typically pretty fun with a room full of 9 and 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
We have a good time.
Understand. So, Mr. Bonsignor, you have an opportunity to see that joy, that non-typical day happen every day in Mr. Young's class. Tell us, what is it that you see here in the field when you visit?
Well, I see and hear, if that's the word for thinking, I see a lot of thinking going on. Mr. Young is a thinker. He is very technologically inclined, and you will see it in his classroom. And he's very data-driven. You will see that in his classroom as well. So when I see it behind the scenes as well, when they do their planning, they're very, very deliberate, high order thinking questions that they plan so that the kids could think, and they are the ones that do all the work with the thinking, not the teachers themselves. And a lot of very also high order thinking checks for understanding questions, and it comes from his thinking as well. He's very quiet in the planning sometimes, but he'll produce those questions and you just see them on the side, and he would be the culprit of those hard questions that he presents to his students to really make them think.
So, Mr. Young, as a career changer, do you think reflecting back, do you think you draw inspiration from a prior teacher of yours?
I do. My third grade teacher, not in this district unfortunately, his name was Mr. Spieg in my elementary school. I do draw inspiration from him. Most of my teachers in elementary school were female teachers, but seeing a male teacher in the role and teaching us, you know, in a slightly different manner than what we were used to, that was inspiring to me in hindsight. I really enjoyed having him as a third grade teacher.
So what's your favorite part of teaching?
Connecting with the students, I think. I think my favorite part of teaching is connecting with them, with what's important to them, and then being able to show them how what they're learning today can be applied to what they find important and the things that they enjoy most. That's fun to me, to see them get enjoyment out of learning and connecting it to their life in other ways unexpectedly.
So, Mr. Bonsignor mentioned your proficiency with technology. How do you use technology for instruction, keeping in mind that your students were born with technology in their hands?
Yes, they were. Sometimes you have to look to them for help, don't you?
Oh, sure you do.
But Of course, we use the computer programs that are available, such as iReady and things of that, for the students to get their hands in and do some of the learning that way. And on my end of using technology, I think it's great to be able to assess all of the data, access all the data, look at it, and see how well my students are doing in certain areas and where they're having some deficiencies. That part of the technology is great. But another aspect of technology that I started having fun with this year was I created a STEM group where we are putting robotics into the classroom. I take a little bit of my planning time and a little bit of my lunch time sometimes, and I can pull groups of students and have them rotate through. And we get to use the Dash and Dot robots from Make Wonder Wonderworks robots. And we're getting ready. We just got a Parrot Mambo, a drone. We're going to try to learn how to program that. And that type of technology is great. And with my background in automation, I understand the importance of knowing how to code and robotics programming, and how that's going to be a big part of our future. And it's great to see these 9 and 10-year-olds excited about it and excited to get their hands on these robots and these tablets and get in there and code and play with them. And you know, they're learning way more than they even know because they're just having so much fun.
So how do you purposefully engage students in learning?
The purposeful engagement, I think, goes back to how when we have those morning talks and I see what's going on in their lives, and I try to adjust things to fit into what they're seeing and what's I kind of have determined to be important to them. You know, sometimes it's on a daily basis. Sometimes I understand they have long-term things they're going through. But if I can, you know, jot some of those down, memorize some of them, and then purposefully bring those up again in a later lesson, it really surprises them, makes an impact, and creates a situation where they remember.
Mr. Bonsignor, describe Mr. Young for me using 3 adjectives and explain why you chose those 3.
Well, the data-driven piece is one. He's very passionate, and he brings the passion from, as you just heard, from his first career. And that technology piece is well infused and relevant to the students. And he's very authentic. I'm surprised he didn't become a teacher before that, but it took that change for him to, or maybe his wife, for him to see that that's also his path, and I'm glad he chose that path.
So is there something new and or exciting that you're working on in your 4th grade room this year?
I mentioned the thing with the drone. I think that's exciting. We created a goal board in our room this year that's a little bit different. I'm sure other teachers have tried something similar before. That's exciting for my students, though, to create their own goals and have it up on one of our bulletin boards in the classroom, so they can have visible goals to reach. That's exciting for them. Of course, they're excited about the robot club, the Parrot drone. That's exciting. Those are the highest levels of excitement I'm getting from the students right now, is them reaching their goals, whether it be in reading and math and science. I get to see their goals being reached there. That's exciting, and it's also exciting for them to get their hands on the technology.
So we know what's new and exciting in your room, and we heard a little bit about the students' goals. What are your goals for this year?
My goals are to see growth higher than I've had in the past. As a career changer, this is only the beginning of my 4th year of teaching, and I've seen some growth, and I've you know, I've tested the waters to see where I excel and, you know, what I'm capable of, and my goals for this year are to see student growth at levels higher than what I've experienced before. And I'm striving hard to do that. I'm trying really hard, because I think that's a good way to measure my success, is to see how much I can move these students along in their education.
So we're approximately halfway through the school year, 1 semester is down. What are you most proud of?
I'm most proud to be sitting here. It's an honor to be sitting here.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Aside from that, one thing I was really proud of is a particular student just came, some data came across my desk the other day about, I have an ELL student, an ESOL student, first language is Portuguese, and he showed tremendous growth. I think it was nearly 100% growth from his first reading diagnostic to his second reading diagnostic, and I think that's big. That's exciting and something to be proud of, to see that student make that much growth in just a short amount of time.
So, Mr. Bonsignor, to be the Teacher of the Year, we know that Mr. Young is involved in everything on campus. Can you share with us some of those things that he may be involved with?
Well, he's involved in several things. Some of the things, the committees are safety committee. He's involved in that. He's involved in the literacy committee. He is also involved in the MLK committee. He has a lot of creativity in coming up with that engineering aspect, and he contributes a lot into it. His strength is math, and I think he took it as a challenge to kind of dive into the literacy committee, because he wants that experience, and I'm proud of him for doing that. And what makes him who he is and well to represent the district is he's not afraid to really face challenges and things that will challenge him, period, now or in the future, I see.
What is it that fuels you, that driving force?
I think really a challenge. Just having a challenge is what is a driving force for me. I could come up with lots of examples, but I can use one from my personal life recently. We had bought this office desk that I needed to put in my office that was down a narrow hallway in the last room through a narrow doorway, and it was a 30-inch tall desk, a 30-inch depth desk, and it had to go in a 29.5-inch wide door. And I didn't have any assistance. And that was a real challenge, and I was excited about that. I was excited about the challenge of trying to get this oversized desk in a very narrow spot. And I see that every day in class. A challenge will be presented, and sometimes it's from administration, sometimes just directly from the students. We're challenged to do this, and that's what drives me and gets me excited to see if I can meet and even exceed what's being presented to me.
Let's switch gears. Tell us a fun fact about Mr. Young and what he's interested in outside of school.
Oh, fun fact about Mr. Young. I'm interested in riding motorcycles, and a fun fact is I acquired a 45-year-old Harley-Davidson motorcycle in pieces in a box. And I put it all back together, rewired it, redid the hardware, rebuilt the engine, and put it all together. And I've ridden it 1,000 miles so far. And that's a fun fact about Mr. Young. He has built his own motorcycle.
Road tested. Cool.
Did not know that.
Cool. So, is there anything else, Mr. Bonsignor, that we haven't spoken about that you want to share about Mr. Young?
Well, I could say that aside from his fun fact, which is interesting, he really extends his passion for children outside in his community through his church, and I know this for a fact in terms of contributing to the community. So that's just something I didn't mention, but I could see him extending that and going beyond in the future. I see him doing great things.
So today, education is plagued with many different issues. What do you think is a prime issue, a number one issue facing education today?
I think, like you said, there are many. One that I think about somewhat, because my peers I've seen go through it, and I'm also at the threshold, is teacher turnover rate. I think if I remember this data right, which I don't know the exact numbers, it's somewhere around a 3 to 5 year period. We have lots of teachers leaving the profession, and I'm right in that ballpark, and I'm not leaving the profession.
Okay.
And
good.
And I feel good about it.
Yes.
So I feel good about being here and staying here, and I think more of the teachers need to get past that threshold. I think that's a major concern, is they're not given enough of a chance to get good at it and see the change that they're making, and I think that's a big problem, teacher turnover, because it's expensive to replace teachers often, and And not only is it expensive monetarily, it's expensive in terms of the children's education when they're getting, you know, unseasoned teachers frequently.
So let's wrap up. You're the 2020 Teacher of the Year, which makes you an ambassador for education. Have an opportunity to speak with parents, possibly lawmakers, other citizens, other colleagues. What would your message be to them?
I would say be resilient. Don't give up, and don't give up on the teachers. Don't give up on the students. And you know, if you have a setback or you get knocked down or you feel like, you know, something's not going right, just try harder. Put in a little bit more. Whether it's the parents or other teachers. Just keep moving forward. Whatever kind of hurdles or obstacles you have to overcome, you can do it. We'll get there. We have lots of resources, you know, available to us all the time, and use those resources and keep going.
Mark Van Doren said, "The art of teaching is the art of assisting discovery." Thank you for helping those students in your 4th grade class just discover everything about the world around them as you make them better citizens and enhance their knowledge and learning. Congratulations on your selection as a Teacher of the Year. Mr. Bonsignor, thank you for joining us as well, and we will look forward to visiting you and hearing everything that's going on in your awesome room.
All right, thank you.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
At this time, we want to welcome to our Teacher of the Year celebration show the wonderful Miss Barbara Soper. Welcome.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year at Westgate.
Thank you.
She's brought along with her the awesome principal from there, Miss Chrissy Parker. Miss Parker, welcome to our show.
Hi.
Now, we know that everybody over at Westgate is tuning in. They want to hear what we're going to talk about, what you guys are going to say. But we have some awesome viewers that are always tuning into our shows, and we want to introduce yourself to our viewers as well. So share a little bit about who you are.
So my name is Barbara Mackey Solberg. I just started my 14th year of teaching. I was born and raised in Broward County, where I attended Florida Atlantic and graduated with my bachelor's degree and certified in ESOL.
And what are you currently teaching at this time?
5th grade math.
5th grade math.
Yes.
Ah, Miss Parker, would you please introduce yourself with?
I'm Miss Parker. I'm the principal of Westgate, and this is my 5th year there.
Cool, cool. Now, 5th grade math. Tell us, what's a typical day like in Miss Soper's 5th grade class?
A lot of student talking.
Okay.
So I like to have kids in small group where it's more student talk than teacher talk. So as I get up there, I like to keep lessons a minimum 10, 15 minutes because I want them to talk about it. I want them to learn off each other. So come in small groups, centers, a lot of engagement, a lot of fun.
So what does 5th grade math entail? Because I know it's one of those testing subjects and you're departmentalized.
Yes.
So what does that entail? What does that look like?
So we have a lot of fractions that we do. I make it fun with a lot of games. I try not to put the stress of testing on them because they are way over tested. So I don't say, oh, we got countdown until FSA. We got to do this on the district assessments. I try not putting that stress on the kids. I just want to teach what they need to know and let them have fun with it.
Okay, Ms. Parker, I'm already jealous because you get to see the magic happen in Ms. Solberg's class every day. Explain to us what is it that you see here and feel when you visit that awesome class.
The same exact thing she just spoke about. Students are excited to go to her class. They don't like leaving her class. At the end of a 90-minute block, they're, no, we don't want, they don't want to leave. It's very, very engaging, and she's just very positive and knows all of her students, knows them inside of school, outside of school, and things like that as well.
So, Ms. Solberg, what's your favorite part of teaching?
I love seeing the kids when they first get it and understand it. I had a kid tell me that we love being in here because if we don't get it the first time, you don't just move on. You stop and you reteach it a different way. And if they still don't get it, I teach it a different way. So I love seeing when those kids actually, oh, that's it? That's how easy it was? It gets me excited that they can get it. Even if they're like that level 1 kid, I don't like to put it a level 1, you're a level 5.
Gotcha.
They're all the same.
Yes.
And they all will get it.
So you told me 14 years. Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
So I was that girl who played school growing up.
Okay.
But I actually wanted to be a pediatrician.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't think that I could handle the medical field. So I felt like if I couldn't help kids in that way, I could help them by teaching them. So I decided to be a teacher, especially in high school when they had the early childhood program started. I attended that, where I worked with 4-year-olds, and then just from there I followed the teaching career.
So as you reflect back on your 14 years of teaching, can you say that you've drawn inspiration from one of your teachers or multiples of your teachers?
Yeah, I worked at Lawnwood for 8.5 years, and that place has a big heart. They made me the teacher that I am today. And I had teachers growing up in high school that inspired me to be a teacher, led me the right way, and without them I wouldn't be who I am today.
So Ms. Parker, please describe Ms. Soper for me, giving me 3 adjectives, and explain to our viewers why you chose those 3.
I would say innovating. And the reason I say that is because, like she just said, she reaches every student, no matter if it's a student that is well below grade level or advanced. She will go over and beyond to make sure she meets their needs, even if it's going to challenge her. She will definitely take the work and put the effort towards it. Engaging, just because when you walk in her room, every single kid's engaged. You know, if you want to see if somebody that can do centers and keep kids like constantly just loving math and striving for more, it's in her classroom. You see that. And I would say genuinely, she cares about every single kid and who they are.
So, even if it's a challenge, now those are Ms. Parker's words, not mine, okay? What are your goals for this year, even if it's a challenge?
So I need to be more confident.
Okay.
I feel like I'm not doing the best that I can, or I'm not that good teacher, but I am. And that challenging class, the higher level class, they make me want to be better, and they push me, like they challenge me. So my goal is to be more confident in myself that I am a good teacher, I am doing what I'm supposed to do, I am getting them to learn.
Well, let's talk about 2 things that good, great teachers always do. One is the use of technology for instruction, and the other is making their classroom purposefully engaging. So first tell us, how do you purposefully plan for engagement in your instruction?
So just by me doing small group instruction, they love it and they're already engaged. With that, we do a lot of Kahoot that they love to do, which again is in small groups. They work problems out together, they talk about it. I do a lot of Kagan structures, where again, they have to talk to each other about it. It's a lot of games where they figure things out. We do iReady and the Prodigy, so it's a lot of technology going on and a lot of games.
So in essence, you're using technology to help with your engagement.
Right.
Cool, cool. 14 years again, right? We're reflecting here. But when did you first fall in love with teaching?
I want to say my first full year of teaching, because when I got hired at Lawnwood, I started in December of '06. So I took over a class. So I didn't have them from day one. So that following year, when I actually started with my class, they were mine. I could do what I needed to do with them. And that's when I first fell in love with them.
Ms. Parker, all of our teachers of the years don't just sit in their classrooms. They're well, let's just say they're everywhere. Tell us what else we would find Ms. Stolberg involved in that actually helps Westgate be the school that it is.
She'll be on the sidelines of football games for her kids on the weekends. She'll be doing planks outside the Met Stadium with kids and challenges, things like that. Like I said, she knows who they are. And I think that's building those relationships with those kids and knowing who they are, and that's just building them the respect they have for her. And I mean, they work for her and they do so well, and she does everything to go over and beyond inside her classroom and outside.
So what advice, Ms. Solberg, would you give to a new teacher?
First year teachers have it hard. It's classroom management. I feel like teachers are quick to run and quit because they don't have that classroom management. And if you don't have that, you can't teach those kids. So I think first year teachers need more help in how to have that classroom management. I think that's the biggest struggle we're having with these teachers coming in, lasting a couple of months, and they don't know how to get their class together and organize and end up quitting.
Parents understand the high stakes of 5th grade and the testing and stuff like that. So oftentimes they push that onto the students. What advice do you offer parents to help them ensure that their child will be a success in your class?
I tell parents the reason I don't give homework is because I want them to go home and spend quality time with family and let me take care of that testing part. I don't want to say, FSA is coming, we need to get ready for the test. I want them to go home, spend time with parents. I contact parents. If they need extra help, I do it with them at school.
What are you most proud of?
All of the success that I have had in 14 years of teaching, whether it was how they scored on these tests, kids coming back and visiting 8 years later, they're in high school and I had them in 2nd grade. I think I've been successful with every kid that I've had.
Ms. Parker, what makes Mrs. Soper the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
I would say that I think down the road, when you think back and like you asked her today, who's that teacher that you remember? I think that she's definitely gonna be one of those that the kids will always remember. Not only for her building relationships and the academic success. I mean, you look at even the results she has. She doesn't focus on it, but if you look at her results, she's still one of the top teachers in the district every single year. No matter who you give her, she will take them to the next level. So I think she just encompasses the whole entire thing of who a teacher is and why they're in it for the right reasons.
What fuels you, Ms. Solberg?
So obviously the students are number one. They need me there. But honestly, what really fuels me is my team, my 5th grade team. Those colleagues are probably one of the best teams I've ever worked with. If I have a bad day, they make me laugh. We're there for each other. It's so fun going to Westgate teaching 5th grade with that team. We've even had like parents and other colleagues call us the dream team. And I truly think that's what we are.
Let me stretch you and build your confidence a little bit. But let's have some fun first. Tell us some fun facts about Ms. Solberg and things that you are interested in outside of Westgate.
So I'm a Florida native, but I'm a diehard Raider fan. So all the kids know that Sunday is Raider time. If I had to do homework like the iReady minutes, not if the Raiders win. They're not getting homework. So they're at home cheering for the Raiders. So really,
so you created a whole bunch of cheerleaders for the Raiders in your 5th grade class.
So it's my passion. You go in my room and there's Raider stuff everywhere. So I love football.
So why are you really a teacher?
I want to make a difference in everybody, whether it's in math or personally in their life. Because I'm not just teaching math, I'm teaching a whole lot more in that class. With the social emotional curriculum, teaching them everyday skills, social skills. I want to make a difference somehow in every kid that I have.
When we talk about making a difference, we have to be so concerned about the challenges and the issues that education faces. What do you think is one of the most important or challenging issues for facing education?
So times have changed since 14 years, and I think the biggest challenge right now with the kids is mental illness. And that's why we integrated the social emotional learning. It's, for some reason, these kids are having social issues, emotional issues, and I want to help them with that. I think that's the biggest challenge we have in education today, is what's happening with these kids.
So we've talked about a lot, Ms. Parker. Is that what makes her the perfect candidate? The perfect candidate.
She's what you'd want your child to walk into every single day.
Is there anything else about her that you want to share with us? I know we've spoken about a lot.
She's just passionate about what she does. I mean, it's obvious no matter what time of the day you go into her classroom or who she has, she just covered everything. She, academically, social, emotional, she embeds it in every single lesson. She will fight for every single kid and will do what's best. If you say today that, hey, so-and-so's having a bad day and is struggling with this skill, she's got them in her room before school tomorrow morning already and is messaging the parent and reaching out and filling in those gaps. If they're having a bad day, she's going to pull them aside and make sure that she knows what's going on before she's pushing her lesson onto them and things like that too. She goes over and beyond, the call of duty every single day, I would say.
When you think about all that you have endured, that you have been a part of during your 14 years of being a teacher, when you think about the life issues that are associated with our children, and that's why we're dealing with the social and emotional learning, all encompassing, what is it that you know for sure?
I know for sure that I'm a good teacher, and I'm going to help these kids any way that they need.
Finish this phrase for me. The world needs
More kindness.
more
Yeah.
kindness.
So I just watched a commercial the other day, the Pass It On Foundation, and they have a bunch of different pillars, and it's together we're better. And part of the social emotional curriculum again is teaching them to talk to each other and be kind to each other and have empathy. And we're really trying hard to use that curriculum and hopefully change it.
To be the Teacher of the Year, you have had to have many great accomplishments. What do you think was one of your greatest accomplishments and why?
This is a pretty big one, being Teacher of the Year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to say that. I'm so honored to have that, and that truly is my greatest accomplishment.
It speaks for what your colleagues say about you, what they think about you. So let's wrap it up, okay? As the 2020 Teacher of the Year, you are the ambassador for education. Now, fast forward, and you may have an opportunity to be the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools, the state of Florida, the nation. In that role as an ambassador, you're going to be faced with having conversations with many different people, educational colleagues, lawmakers, citizens, and you are the one that spreads the word about education. What would your message be?
I think we need more people to support education, even parental support. Everyone out there, I'm always told, oh, it's easy being a teacher. You have the weekends off, summers off. They really don't know what we do with these children every day. I don't just teach math. There's so much more that I have to do. And I wish we would have a little bit more support in what we do in education.
I totally agree with you. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you. But let me leave you with this quote. Teaching is not a profession, it's a passion. And it's evident through our conversation that your passion for teaching, it comes through in all that you do. And I know you're doing the same thing with your students each and every day. Ms. Parker, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ms. Soper, congratulations on your
you.
selection as Teacher of the Year. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
Maybe I have with that?
Oh, thank you. Did you see anyone's broccoli? You moved this? Thanks for helping us.
No problem.
Hey, Soper. You're welcome.
We'd do anything for kids. Yet 1 in 6 children in the U.S. struggle with hunger. Help end childhood hunger near you. Learn how at feedingamerica.org.
We want to welcome at this time the wonderful Mr. Timothy Bove, who's the fantastic Teacher of the Year at Samuel S. Gaines Academy of Emerging Technologies.
Yes, sir.
Woo, a mouthful, Mr. Bove.
It is.
Congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year.
Thank you so much.
He's brought along with him the proud principal of Sam Gaines, Mr. Keith Davis. Mr. Davis, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, Mr. Bove, Mr. Davis, we know that everybody at Sam Gaines tuning in to hear what you guys are going to talk about today. But guess what? We have some awesome viewers that always tune into our shows that need to know who you are also. So, Mr. Bove, if you would, please just introduce yourself to our viewers.
Sure. My name is Tim Bove. I teach language arts, 8th grade language arts at Samuel S. Gaines Academy of Emerging Technologies. I started my career at Sebastian River High School up in Sebastian, and then I moved down here to Westwood High School, and now obviously I'm at Sam Gaines. As far as my education, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology from Princeton University. I have a law degree from Boston University School of Law, and a master's degree in education from American College of Education.
I just learned something after all of these years. Mr. Davis, introduce yourself.
I'm the proud principal of Keith Davis of Samuel S. Gaines Academy of Emerging Technologies. Been in the system about 25 years, administration maybe about 18 years or so. Went to South Carolina State, a proud graduate of Fort Pierce Central High School.
I was going to make sure that you said that.
I have to
All
say
of our
that. I know
Cobras,
they are looking for me if I don't. And just have been able to matriculate through K-12 in St. Lucie County.
So, Mr. Bove.
Yes, sir.
8th grade?
Yes, sir.
Language arts. What's a typical day in Mr. Bove's 8th grade language arts class like?
I'm hoping that there isn't a typical day. We obviously have a structure, we have a routine that we try to stick to. Generally speaking, what we've done is merge language arts and basic reading instruction into, for most students, a double block class. So the first half of that double block we spend on grade level work in language arts, preparing with standards-based instruction. And the second half is reading intervention for students who need it. We have obviously a computer-based intervention program, small group instruction, data chats, and I hope that my students have learned that there is no predictability outside of that basic routine.
So, why did you choose teaching as a profession?
I'm going to go with the trite answer and say teaching chose me. I know that
it does that.
I know that for a lot of people, teaching is something that they planned on doing for a good portion of their life. Teaching snuck up on me. This is my third career. My first was in social work, and my third was in law. And now I do education. My now wife, when I started dating her, met me at the time I was working actually in real estate and mortgages. And she had been, as a lifelong teacher herself, she had been one of the people that the neighborhood children went to for additional help, just some basic, pseudo counseling, some place to go that was safe. And little by little, she realized that they had stopped talking to her and started talking to me. In part because she's a teacher and I am not, and I suppose I made education feel like something other than education. It was entertainment first, with an emphasis on whatever they needed work on. And she's the one who pulled me aside and said, "You do know that you're wasting your time, right? Working in some field other than this, and you should really try teaching." And she is the one who introduced me to the profession.
Thank you, Ms. Bove. So, because it snuck up on you, and because kids tend to come towards you, if I were to talk to some of your students, what would they tell me about their day in your class?
The number one bit of feedback that I've gotten from students over the years is that there is no, I don't know a nice way of saying it, there is no place to hide in my classroom. There are a number of students with reading disabilities, language deficits that pride themselves on being able to go into a mainstream classroom and hide. Be somebody who does not answer questions directly, be somebody who the teacher doesn't call on, who the teacher backs away from. And over the years, what I've tried to do is make my classroom a safe place, but not a place where you can hide from developing your skills. I will come find you, and I will find out what it is that you know and what you don't know, because my job is to figure out how to fill in those deficits. It's not necessarily a comfortable conversation, but it's a conversation we are going to have.
So, Mr. Davis, you're the lucky one who gets to see this magic happen in Mr. Bove's class every day. Tell us what you see, hear, and feel when you visit.
Well, he mentioned the fact about how he makes education entertaining. When you walk into Mr. Bove's class, his students they don't even turn and look toward the door as I'm entering. He has them so engaged with his conversation about the content that's occurring. He's being real modest about the information, like how he get them to compete against themselves and others in the class in our Reading Plus program. But his storytelling of the content and why students need it, he pulls different literature so they can understand from different backgrounds, some that's tied to their backgrounds. But on top of that, he's circulating around, he has them in small groups. I have to remind myself that I'm on a clock myself when I'm going in there, because I know I have to get out and go elsewhere, but I have to swing through there because it is just, it's going to grab you and just hold you in his whole time.
So it's a place that you want to stay as well.
It's just a wonderful place to build learning.
So, Mr. Bove, students are enjoying your class. What do you do to engage them?
Well, as Mr. Davis said, my job, education, lots of people say that education is not what it once was. And I believe that that's true. Education has to take a step up. It's got to step up its game, because we have so much to compete with these days. The idea of the media, the idea of social media, the idea of snippets, and just being able to maintain attention for more than a couple of minutes at a time, that has to be integrated into the learning environment. It has to be fast-paced, it has to be engaging, it has to include material that students themselves put down whatever else it is that they're thinking about or thinking about doing and want to engage. I remember several times when I had students who had a little trouble getting to class on time, and so what I decided to do was simply start with my A game. The bell ringer was the most engaging part of every conversation, and when they would walk in, they would feel that they had lost something in their day. And after a couple of those classes, I did not have a whole lot of problem with kids getting there on time anymore, because they realized that there was something worth getting to.
So you have a story to tell. What would you say to new teachers, knowing that you're a career changer?
I would tell new teachers that their background is critical to what they are doing. Instruction and education, being trained as an educator is valuable. However, what you bring in from other professions, other degrees, other experiences, in my personal experience, has been even more valuable. The real world experience that people coming in from other careers can bring to these students bridges the gap that many students see between us being academics and us being people that they can look up to.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Describe Mr. Bove for me using 3 adjectives and explain to our viewers why you've chosen those 3.
He's very deliberate, optimistic, and I'm going to say reflective. I've noticed him in just the last week or so, getting students up, getting them going. However, he's so far ahead, he knows that we're getting ready to set up for FSA rights. So he's taking a look at his students who are taking a look at students who've in the past demonstrated zeros. So he's looking at how to set up their writing so they're ready to go. So much so that he tried one method last year. I believe only one student didn't make it, and he got upset. And he's like, it's not going to happen again. But mind you, the other 21 did make it. So now what we're looking at is
no child behind, right?
So now he has a new plan, and they shared it with me today on how he's going to change that background of there, because it's a language barrier. And so he's going to work on that component of it and set that up. So that's when I was mentioning about being reflective in his approach and being very deliberate on time on how he wants to do it.
So, Mr. Bove, when did you first fall in love with teaching?
I fell in love with teaching after my first few years of doing it. I think, like many teachers, I spent the first few years wondering what I had gotten myself into. I was convinced that this was not something that I could do. I felt that, and I think like most teachers, I believe my deficit was in classroom management. And so I dedicated myself to working with master teachers, to talking to my administrators and making sure that they set me up with candidates that they felt were ideal or admirable in working with difficult classrooms. And I believe that I fell in love with teaching when classroom management became a reason to stay rather than a reason to leave. When working with the students that other teachers felt were too difficult or not worth their effort became my area of expertise. I love working with students for whom academics have not come naturally. I love seeing that light come on when they finally experience success at something that they were convinced they could not be successful at. I know we're not supposed to have favorite students, but I have one young lady from last year who came in as a low-level 1. She was a second language learner and spent a good portion of the year telling me that she was not going to be successful. And I told her, you have my permission to give up on yourself. And she looked at me aghast, and I said, I only have one condition. You can give up on yourself the moment that I do. I said, if you can convince me that you will not be successful and that this year that you will not pull it out this year, you have my permission to relax for the year. And she took that as a challenge. This young lady who, like I said, is English is her second language, started as a low-level 1, and we got her through to a 3 on the FSA exam. And she came back this year to thank me, and I said, you do remember last year, I didn't do any of the work. I stepped back and let you fill in the gaps. You did all of the work, and if anything, if there was any success that happened last year, it was because you put in the work and the effort.
So what's your goal for this year?
My goal for this year, as Mr. Davis alluded to, is to top last year. I don't feel the need to compete with other teachers. This is my team. And honestly, if it weren't for the other teachers on my team, I would not be anywhere near as successful as I am. And I hope that they feel the same way about working with me. My goal is to top last year. That is truly my goal, as Mr. Davis mentioned, and I think a lot of teachers do this. We don't take home with us the kids who are successful. We take home with us the 1 or 2 that slipped through the cracks for one reason or another. And our job is to try and identify that student as early as possible and make sure that that same mistake doesn't happen again. There will always be new challenges that come up that we can't account for.
What are you most proud of?
Oh, I think I am most proud of the relationships that I've built in my life with people. I have never considered myself a people person. I had a fear of public speaking most of my life. I was the kid who sat in the back of the room and answered everything with a witty comeback because I didn't want any of the attention on me. And because of that, I had a very small, select group of friends that I turned to. And that has changed over the last couple of years. And I have built some incredibly strong relationships, first and foremost with my wife, and then, of course, with some of my colleagues for whom I have nothing but the deepest respect. As I said before, there is no way that I could be as happy at my job or as successful at my job without the team that I have supporting me. And I am simply thrilled that they see something in me that they value enough to put up with my idiosyncrasies.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
What makes Mr. Bove the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Oh, wow. So many things. I think just him being humble, always, and his undying passion and relentlessness to have his students succeed. He's constantly reflecting and redoing his craft. If not later that day, the next day, he's following up with his writing, his exit tickets, his slips. So just his passion to continue on, and being at Samuel Gaines Academy, to be on the side of history, making a B as a school. Mr. Bove's been there when they were in the trenches and no one thought we could, but he's been there.
Yes.
And so that right there just pretty much cements why he should be the Teacher of the Year.
So, Mr. Bove, let me hear your thinking on what you think is a major issue that's plaguing education today.
If I had to sum up the major issue that's plaguing education today, I would say that educators and the people that educators report to have a tendency to try and fit many students into a very small category, to try and define success as being universal, rather than acknowledging that success is different from student to student. Once upon a time, we promoted multiple paths to success. And what we have done is we have narrowed the field. we push students perhaps a little bit too hard for strictly academic content without acknowledging the fact that there's no point in learning how to write if you don't have anything to write about. Reading becomes incredibly difficult if you don't have that background knowledge to build on. We have shortchanged some of our students, in my personal opinion, with taking out those support classes that make them see the connection between the pure academics and real life. And if we could add those classes back in as electives, I think that our students would become stronger citizens, which should, in my personal opinion, be the goal of the public education system.
So you're the Teacher of the Year for Samuel Gaines Academy of Emerging Technologies. Possibly could be the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools, the state of Florida, and the nation. In that role, you'll be faced with speaking with many different people about education because you then are the ambassador. What would your message be?
I believe my message would be very similar to what I was saying, that we need to promote diversity, not just in the students and their backgrounds, but in their goals and their dreams. We need to recognize that different students come to education with a different goal, with a different purpose. And that while we know what we wish that they would get from schools, that isn't necessarily synced up with the way that they feel about what they want to get from school. The moment that we begin to unify those together and start to meet some of their needs, I think you will find a lot more buy-in from students and therefore a lot more success across the board.
Mr. Bove, Donna Bolger gave us these words. She said, "To teach well is to make a difference in all the lives you touch. To teach will is to believe in what and whom you teach. It's evident by what you have shared that you believe in children and you don't let them give up on themselves because you don't give up on them." Mr. Davis, thank you for joining us. Mr. Bove, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your selection as Teacher of the Year for Samuel Gaines.
Thank you so much.
I wish I was in school. If only I had a math test today. I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I wish I was in school.
School ends, but free lunches for your kids don't have to. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/summer meals for help.
Please help us welcome to our Teacher of the Year celebration show at this time, Miss Lorraine Campanaro. Welcome to our show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Let me start off by saying congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year for Treasure Coast High School.
I'm excited.
And she's joined by her awesome principal, Mr. Todd Smith. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, we know that everybody at TCHS watching the show, so let's get it out there right now, okay? Titan born, Titan bred. Yes, yes, yes. But we have some wonderful viewers who may not know all about you, Ms. Campanaro, like your colleagues at Treasure Coast. So would you please take a moment and introduce yourself to our awesome viewers?
Sure. My name is Lorraine Campanaro. I am 28 years old, and I started my first teaching job ever was actually at Treasure Coast High School. I am originally from New York, and I went to school at the State University of SUNY Cortland, and there I got my bachelor's degree in childhood education, and I got my master's degree right after my bachelor's in special education. I taught for a short amount of time in first grade, and then I went to a job fair, and I got an opportunity to teach in high school. So I picked up my life, and I came to Florida, and I've been teaching at Treasure Coast ever since.
And what are you currently teaching at TCHS?
I am teaching special education, specifically in 9th grade.
9th grade. Yeah. And Mr. Smith, would you please intro yourself?
Like Ms. Campanaro, I'm originally from upstate New York. I graduated from St. Lawrence University. We had the pleasure of playing Cortland State in a number of athletic competitions.
We beat you probably.
I don't know about that. And when I was in
this
college,
rivalry is already started. We love it.
And I've been teaching, been a principal in St. Lucie Public Schools for the past 11 years, and this year I'm at Treasure Coast High School. Prior to that, I worked in Palm Beach County and state-approved private schools in Pennsylvania.
So, Ms. Campanaro, why did you choose teaching as a profession?
I've always just loved it. I had really great teachers growing up. And my parents, when I was younger, always told me, find a career that you're passionate about. Find a job that you'll love to go to every day. And for me, that was teaching. At a young age, I just fell in love with it. And when I was in high school, I actually had the opportunity to work in a preschool program at my high school. So I was able to kind of get a feel for it, see if I liked it, and from there on, I was hooked.
So you mentioned you had some great teachers.
Yeah.
And you've always known that you wanted to be a teacher. Mm-hmm. As you reflect, do you think that some of those teachers inspired you to be a teacher? And if so, who are they and what did they do?
Oh, yes. A lot of my teachers have inspired me. Specifically, one of my high school teachers, Mr. Cummings, he was just an all-around awesome individual. He cared about his students. He wanted to connect with us. He was always there and always kind of going that extra mile, where we didn't look at him as, oh, he has to teach us something. We looked at him as a person and someone that we could connect to and really help us as the students grow.
How do you use technology in your classroom to help your students learn?
Sure, so I have a great opportunity of working with different team members. Because I am an ESE teacher, I get to push into different classrooms, so it's nice to see how different teachers use technology and how I get to help them implement it. A big way that we use technology is to engage our learners. We use technology to help them connect to what our instruction is for their understanding. A great example of that is we recently did a project on Romeo and Juliet, and the students had to go in the courtyard and they took pictures on their cell phones of them reenacting scenes. And then they came back, they had to email themselves the pictures, and then they had to make a PowerPoint with it. And teaching them those simple tasks of emailing was something that they didn't know how to do, so it was kind of cool to see that and to incorporate technology. They were really into it and really engaged, so I enjoyed that a lot.
So how often did you hear Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou?
A lot. We heard it a lot. But it was good. It was all good to hear it over and over again.
Mr. Smith, you're the lucky one who gets to see Ms. Campanaro in action every day and watch the magic that happens when she's with her students. Tell us, what's that like?
It's actually amazing because I kept hearing about Ms. Campanaro. This is my first year at Treasure Coast High School, and I looked for her and I looked for her throughout the courtyard, throughout the hallways. I could never find her because she was always engaged and always with her students. She's in her classrooms. She works with the regular education teachers. She does professional development. Then I always want to meet with her after school, but I couldn't meet with her after school because she's the swim coach, and then she's the weightlifting coach, and then she does professional development throughout the county. She's our SEL specialist and working with social emotional learning. So once we get, cut her down to my office and let her know that she's the teacher of the year, we had the opportunity to talk. But it's a free flow of communication going back and forth where the kids feel comfortable and they actually feel that their needs are being met, regardless of their ability in the classroom.
So you're the teacher of the year at Treasure Coast. Got some new teachers there. What advice do you offer to them?
Well, I love working with new teachers. I've actually been a mentor to a bunch of new teachers since I've started, so it's really nice to work with them and to help them through their first year. Advice that I give them is to take a step back sometimes, be reflective, think about what you're doing, and to breathe. Breathe. It's gonna be okay, because there's so many stressors your first year of teaching. You just want to do great. You're in a new situation. So I really try to tell them to take a deep breath, to take a step back, and to come back to it later.
Tell us about how you collaborate with parents between the home and the school to help ensure that their children will be a success.
Yeah, so I communicate with parents on a daily basis through not only my education role as an instructor, but also as a coach, because that's also a big part of my job. I communicate with them through email, phone calls. I like to try to give positive phone calls back and positive emails, so it's not always that, oh, they didn't do this today, or hey, they have an assignment that they missed. I think seeing their student as a whole is really important for a parent. So I like to paint that picture for them that they have good days and bad days, and we're here to work with them.
Mrs. Smith, describe Ms. Campanaro for me using 3 adjectives and explain to our viewers why you've chosen those 3.
Well, the first one you can see in the introduction is she's very competitive. And that's very valuable in an educational center because they understand that failure is not an option and that there's no throwing in the hat or giving up in her classroom. She's also very energetic, and that's very important because when you go into the dynamics of a co-taught model, sometimes an ESC teacher or regular teacher will take a step back, but she challenges everybody in the classroom to be at their best on every day. And also, you know, you can't teach somebody compassion, but she demonstrates that on a daily basis, interacting with her peers, interacting with the students, and also the parents. Because a lot of times these parents are faced with some challenges that we have never faced in our life, but she's able to put them in a place where they're going to be successful and the students will be successful also.
So, during the course of the year, there are different things that's happening with the many different students that you're dealing with. But because you have students write goals, what goals do you have?
I have a lot of goals. I think one is to just always keep learning and growing. The great thing about education is it's not, here it is. This is the one path that you have to take. There's always new PDs happening. There's always new technology coming into our school. So I think for me, a goal is to always stay like one step ahead of the game, to always know what's new in education so that I can incorporate it into my classroom.
Tell me, what are you most proud of?
This is cliche, but I am most proud of my students because I work with students with different abilities. Their version of success may be different from, you know, our ordinary students, and I feel like it's important for me to always celebrate those little successes. When my student makes a 10-point jump, I'm excited for them. When they went from a C to a B or a B to an A, I'm excited for them. When they have no missing assignments, I'm excited for them. So, yeah, I just like that.
If I were to have a conversation with a few of your students,
oh gosh.
what do you think they'd tell me about the wonderful Miss Lorraine Campanaro?
Oh, I think they would tell you that I am an education ninja. Like Mr. Smith was saying, I am all over the place in so many different elements of the day. But they always know where to find me, and they always know that I'll be there for them. I think they understand that my job pulls me in and out of different situations, but I'm there every day early. I stay late when I can. I'm always in my room during lunch, and if they ever knock on my door while I'm in the middle of class, I will walk out and make sure that they're okay.
So, Mr. Smith, you alluded to some things earlier. But we know that to be selected as a Teacher of the Year, you just have to be involved in the total operation of the school. So share with us some of those things that we may find Ms. Campanaro involved with that helps Treasure Coast be the success that it is.
The most important thing is, I think, is you know, the design of the academic lessons as they're presented. So you'll see her involved in collaborative planning, working with the English 1 teachers, the 9th grade teachers, from the regular ed classes to the ACE classes to the honors level classes. Outside of that, you'll see her writing IEPs and training people how to write IEPs, but more importantly, instructing individuals how to implement the IEPs as they are written to make sure that the students are reaping the benefits that are set forth. In addition to that, you know, you'll see her bumping around, running through the courtyard, getting ready for the the weightlifting events, the swimming events, and then when she's finished with practice, you'll see her in the gym, taking care of the basketball team as a timekeeper for the multiple boys basketball, girls basketball, weightlifting, wrestling. So she's involved from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock when she leaves.
Yeah.
What ranks among the top things that you teach your students?
I think for me, just teaching them that it's okay if you mess up, you'd have to keep going. They face a lot of difficulties. They come in with not so much confidence, and I want them to feel confident. So I think for me, that's the biggest aspect of my job, is to build up my students' confidence so that they could go on into being in society and to be successful when they leave high school.
You described yourself as an education ninja, and that you were all over the place. So it reminds me of the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah, I am that for sure.
So what fuels you?
What fuels me is working on a team, I know Mr. Smith said it about being competitive. I grew up playing sports. I grew up loving group work and working with people. So I truly value working with my 9th grade team as well as my ESE department. And when I work with colleagues who are on the same page as me and who have the same vision, that fuels me to come to work every day and to do better and to bring my best to the table.
When did you first fall in love with teaching?
I first fell in love with teaching when I was actually student teaching. When I was student teaching in Cortland, my host teacher randomly one week came up to me 2 minutes before the kids came in class and said, "I'm gonna leave you alone for a week." And I looked at her, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like panicking. And then I took a deep breath, like I would tell any of my new teachers, like mentioned before, and I told myself I could do this. And in that 1 week, I knew that I was doing what I wanted to do.
Tell us, switching gears.
Okay, I'm ready.
Fun facts about Miss Campanaro and your interest outside of Treasure Coast.
Fun facts is I am really into working out. I work out at a local gym, and I think it's just important to take time for yourself. So I really got involved with that CrossFit competitiveness, and I love going out on the boat and being on the water. So I really enjoy being outside and working out.
So, Mr. Smith, what makes her the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
When you look at the body of work that she's presented in a short time at Treasure Coast, she has earned the trust and respect from all of her colleagues and also from the students. But more importantly, she puts people in a position to be successful every single day. And as she called the Energizer Bunny, the most important thing about that is when she's working with the teams, you know, when somebody tries to sit back and say, you know, let's let Ms. Campanaro do the work, she pulls them along, all the reluctant learners in the classroom and the reluctant participants in the collaborative planning.
Finish this phrase for me. The world needs.
The world needs more people to be open-minded and flexible. I truly, truly feel that if we come in with no preset standards or anything, that we could really get to the root of what we have to do. I'm very open-minded, so I try to instill that in my students because I feel like it sets them up for success, that they could go into any situation and not be nervous or scared or timid.
So when we think about education today, there are many issues that concern us and that affect education. What would you think are one of the most important issues that are that's concerning education?
I think just for me is the amount of testing, but not necessarily that the students are taking tests, how much weight we put on it. I think that puts a lot of pressure on our students. So I try really hard to get my students excited about testing because, you know, if they're going to go to college, other things in life, they are going to, in some aspects, take tests. But I really try to tell them, like, hey, it's okay. Because for a lot of my students, if they don't do well, they feel like they weren't successful. So I want them to feel that it's okay, you could retry, we could get better, we could hone in on these skills, and that just not doing well on one test is not going to make or break you as an individual.
Mrs. Smith, is there anything that we haven't spoken about that you want to share with us about the wonderful Ms. Campanaro?
No, she's just a delight to work with on a daily basis, and you know, she's just a champion for education.
Ms. Campanaro, as we wrap up, I'm going to ask one final question.
Okay, I'm ready.
The Teacher of the Year for Treasure Coast High School, which means you could be the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools or for the state of Florida. In that role, you would have to speak to your constituents, to colleagues, to lawmakers. You're the ambassador.
Yeah.
What would your message be?
I think my message would be to be kind. I'm heavily involved in the Special Olympics, and that's something that I promote throughout the entire school year, is to be kind, to be open, to be understanding, because when kids feel that you are those aspects, they will come to you and they will find their purpose and they will find their why they're in school. And I think that is truly important.
Bob Harris gave us these words when he said, "It's not that we make a difference, we make the difference for the future." It's apparent that everything that you're involved in and the work that you're doing at Treasure Coast, that you're making the difference for those students who are our future. Mrs. Smith, thank you for joining us. And congratulations, Ms. Campanaro, on your selection as a Teacher of the Year.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
At this time, we're pleased to welcome the wonderful Dr. Cynthia Reynolds, who's the Teacher of the Year for Village Green Elementary School. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm a Floridian. I was born in Florida, so that's a little bit unique about me. I always get that, oh, you're a Floridian. But I did move away for 10 years to Kansas, and then I came back home. Let's see. I did my elementary career and my college career in the Orlando area, and I started my teaching career as well in Seminole County. 20 years ago, I was the teacher at a school there, so that was nice. And now 20 years today, I'm another Teacher of the Year. So those are some good things. I started my college career at the University of Central Florida in music education. I continued with my master's in communications, also at the University of Central Florida. Graduated with that in 1999. I continued my education at the University of Florida with my specialist degree in higher education administration, and I got a doctorate in 2006 in the same item.
So what did you currently?
Cut right there. I'm sorry, we're having a technical issue, Dr. Perry.
I know what it is.
Is it your microphone?
It's mine.
Okay.
It's mine. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Starting over?
Are we starting over?
No, Steve says the opening was okay. We still picked you up on the other mic.
Okay.
We'd like to get it more clear from here on.
Yes, sir.
So we can pick
Sorry.
up right from the end of her response.
Okay.
All right, 1 second. All right, we're rolling.
So, what are you currently teaching at Village Green?
Currently, I'm teaching every student at Village Green, and I am their music specialist.
Wow, music, wonderful place to live.
That's right.
My kind of place.
Exactly.
Mr. Davis, please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Hi, I'm Terry Davis. I'm the principal of Village Green Environmental Studies School. Extremely pleased to be fortunate enough to have the privilege to lead that school. I have been teaching, this is my 31st year in Florida, started in Palm Beach County in Pahokee in 1988, then Royal Palm Beach, then Centennial, Central, Port St. Lucie High, Forest Grove, and now Village Green. And you know me, Dr. Perry, I have a soft spot for music. It's in my blood. And so I was super excited to have the opportunity to hire Dr. Reynolds and that position a couple of years ago, and she has just lit the school up. She really has. She's a star.
Awesome, awesome. So what's a typical day like in the music classroom with Dr. Reynolds at the helm?
Well, I really try to engage quickly, and I try to engage constantly. So when they come to my room, I like to really play the three aspects. They get physical, that could be movement. They get to sing, they use their voices, and they get to think. So we try to use some rhythmic patterns with math, or even we might even talk about the science of music. So they'll get some math, they'll get some science. They'll also get some history as well. They also might speak about careers in music. So I try to keep it moving, because not everybody claims to be a singer or a player or a movement expert. So I try to touch all three bases during my time with them.
So, what's your favorite part of teaching?
Well, I'm going to say August and December, because everything's fresh and new. I love being organized. I love knowing what kind of musicals I'm going to do. I love knowing what all my lesson plans will be. Then in December, I regenerate, rethink, calculate, get ready for in my head, the next round. So I love the beginning where you get so excited and you get all the planning and you're looking forward to your goals and how you're going to achieve them. Those are my favorite time of the year.
So, Mr. Davis, I feel this energy, I see this energy, I hear this energy coming from Dr. Reynolds. With you being a musician as well, because I'm getting juiced too, okay? What is it that you see, feel, and hear when you visit the music room?
I just see passion. Passion for the subject area, love for kids. I should mention that last year we started having our curriculum nights tied to student performances. And Dr. Reynolds produced a show for every grade level, K through 4. Fifth grade we do something with Port St. Lucie High School that's a little bit different. But at the first performance, I was just blown away by the performance level of the students. We're talking first grade students with singing, with multiple parts, with reading parts, and with some choreography. You know, we're talking 6-year-old children here. So we're really preparing them for a future appreciation of music and all of the arts, because that is so important, and it's so exciting to see and experience all of that energy. And if any day, anytime you go into Dr. Reynolds' classroom, you're going to feel that energy.
Dr. Reynolds, have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher? And if not, when did you decide?
In 1976, Coca-Cola commercial comes on the air. I like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony.
Yes, I would.
And I saw that, and I knew, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
I want to teach the world to sing.
I wanted to teach the world to sing. I didn't know I could teach the world to sing. I'm teaching the world to sing. So in 1976, I knew that. So, but I have to give credit to my music teacher, Mrs. Orff. Now, of course, she's passed since, but she let me play the flutophone. And that, wow.
Was it the little red and white?
Yes, the red and white
I remember
flutophone.
that one. I remember that one.
I was a master on that thing. And during the concerts, she would look into my eyes, and I knew I was her star student.
Of course.
I just knew it. And I knew when she knew I took the wrong breath, and I was so nervous. But the way she just embraced us, and she made each student think they were the star of the show. And I try to make eye contact with every student on the stage at some point in time during their musical, because they need to know, in my mind, they are the star of that show.
Now, I know that your subject matter is naturally engaging for students, but what do you purposefully do in your planning to engage for students' instruction?
Well, I know it's called planning, but I call it more of analysis. You know, I really analyze what I'm going to do with those plans. How am I going to engage them? How am I going to keep them engaged? And how at the end, I know I've done well when I say, oh, I'm so sorry, time is up, and their teacher's there, and they're like, no, we don't want to go back. I'm like,
yeah.
They want to stay with me. And I get that a lot, and it makes me just so happy. I know that might be wrong to say, but I got them. They're all eyes on me. And you know, not that it's a center thing, but all eyes on the music at hand, all eyes on learning, and their ears are there.
So what advice would you give to new teachers?
To be honest, new teachers to me are kind of like ladies in the 9th month of pregnancy. There's no room to talk. You know, what's going to happen is going to happen. Because when I was in their shoes, you know, being young and not really knowing what's going on, I thought, oh, I'm going to do this, and then it wasn't this and that. So my advice would be, I'm going to let them have their first year, and then we'll talk in the summer. You know, let it get it all out of their system of everything they think they know, and then we'll talk, you know, in the summer. So I don't have any advice yet, not the first go around, because nobody kind of wants to hear it. But in the summer, they want to hear it.
Mr. Davis, describe Dr. Reynolds for me, please, using 3 adjectives, and explain to our viewers why you've chosen those 3.
I would say passionate, because clearly she's got a passion for music and teaching and for children. I would say forward thinking, and that's a hyphenated word, but it's just one of my three words, because everything is planned in advance. And you know, one of the things that comes with experience in teaching is planning for the unknown and for contingencies and things that may happen. And the only way I think really to do that is based on experience. But she's very, very good at you know, okay, if this child reacts this way or this happens, what am I going to do? If my technology doesn't work, what's my backup plan? She always has a backup plan. So I would say forward thinking. And I would just say team player for the school. You know, at our curriculum night and concerts, we have 90% attendance at those shows. And so we have an opportunity to do some curriculum activities with the parents before the concert while she's getting, you know, 87 kindergartners organized on the stage. She reaches out to other staff members for help in the productions. So just a team player, for the school.
So Doc,
Yes, sir.
tell me, what are your goals for this year?
Well, as you know, we're in 2020.
Yes.
And in 1920 is the age of jazz. So I asked Mr. Davis if I could come early before school started for this year. I said, I've got to get my bulletin board up. So what I did, my fourth graders are doing a show which will actually be March 12th at 6 o'clock. You're all welcome to come.
Okay.
And it's called We Has Jazz.
Okay.
And not only are we talking about jazz, but what happened in the 1920s. We're going to talk about Amendment 18 and the woman's rights to vote. We're going to talk about the invention of the airplane and the car, Ford. We're going to talk about that the first radio was in the White House in 1922. We're going to talk about what made the lives of children back then, what it was like to be a child back then. We're also going to, of course, talk about jazz. We're going to talk about ragtime. We're going to go into bebop. Then we're going to look at the blues and swing. And then what happened in 1929, economically speaking? The crash. So we're going to embrace the jazz.
Okay.
So it's going to be the roaring 20s in the music room.
Gotcha. When did you first fall in love with teaching?
I would have to say during my college internship, my professors, and I'm going to say at the University of Central Florida, Dr. David Bruner, he actually got College Educator of the Year at the most recent Florida Music Education Conference that was in Tampa this past weekend. And when he came to the classroom, you better have got yourself, you know what you were doing, you better know the part. He'd be working with the bassist and he says, Cynthia, they sound a little flat, hum an A for me. And you had to do it. Could you tell us why those tenors missed the third note on this measure? You know, he had us, I mean, there was engagement. You are always engaged. And I kind of brought that over to my class. That's why we're always engaged. Always have to have them thinking to be with me. We're in the same mode. And in addition, Dr. Mary Palmer, she just inducted the person to the Hall of Fame. She was my music ed teacher, which I just adored. I was younger back then, but I didn't know that her child had cancer at the time and unfortunately did pass. And I wouldn't have guessed it. She came with such passion. She was so fast at what she did. And when, you know, being younger, we kind of laughed at her assistant. Her assistant was grabbing scarves. She's like, I need scarves. I need the bells. And she had her go, you know, she was just boom, 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 boom. And I have to admit, those two right there were just unbelievable professors. And they taught me how to use that passion, but with intelligence.
So tell me, as an educator, what are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? I would definitely say, I would say, I know what I want to say on this one. I would say most proud of is what I don't know what I'm proud of. Meaning, I will never know how many students' lives I have touched. Now, we would like to know. I would love to hear from them, you know, from students past. But if I could just enhance somebody's day, that day, because you never know what children are coming in from school with. And music for me was a release from my home life. Music was, oh, it was so good. You get lost in music. You're a different person in music. You're experiencing music. So what I'm most proud of, I hope I made a difference in somebody's life. I might never know what life I've changed, but I hope I do in a positive way. So I think I'm most proud of all the lives that I've touched, and I'll never know which ones they were.
Mr. Davis, to be selected the Teacher of the Year, you're heavily involved in the total operation of the school. What do we find Dr. Reynolds involved with?
Well, any of our PBIS Title I nights activities, dances, we have a luau, we have a glitter gala, we have a Halloween party, she's always involved in those, always there. What can I do to help? What needs to be done? And a lot of times she's got it done before anybody even asks her to help, because she just sees what needs to be done and jumps to it. She's the first person our kids see when they come into the building every morning, and it's always, "We're so glad you're here today. Hi, how are you? I love the way you sang in class yesterday." It's a great way for the kids to start the day, that encounter with Dr. Reynolds when they walk into the main hallway.
So, Dr. Reynolds, I hear the passion, and of course, as I stated, we see it. What fuels you?
Well, besides Code Red Mountain Dew, and I only allow myself that on concert dates, it would be the sunrise. I get up very early. I'm a 4 a.m. kind of gal. I don't even need an alarm clock. I am ready to go. I have my stuff together. I think about what I'm going to wear for school on that Sunday. I have it all ready. I know my lunches, but what fuels me is that sun. I'm ready to go. In addition are my students, but my peer teachers, and I love my administration. And when I first got to Village Green, I had a laugh. A lot of teachers asked me, "Are you a first-year teacher?" I'm like, "No." I said, "Why?" "Because you have so much enthusiasm." But I wake up with passion. I can't wait to get to school. I'm like the only person on Monday is like, I am there an hour ahead. I am ready to go.
So, Mr. Davis, what makes Dr. Reynolds the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
She really unites the school around her with her performances. She's very good with children who struggle with learning and who struggle with behaviors. She is excellent with them, and she's somebody that I would never hesitate to send a beginning teacher to for advice.
Dr. Reynolds, there are many issues that are of concern to educators today. What do you think is an important issue that's of concern to educators and education?
Well, you know, I try to keep my foot abreast of situations. Like in Oregon, when we have, and this is a very serious subject, the code of clear room code, where when a student is having difficulties, we got to get our other children out of the room until somebody can help us with another student. So I'm going to say empathy for all of our students, knowledge on knowing how to handle a situation, and just that we really need to work together, and we don't need anything to separate us. We need to be together on how we can handle our students at our school to the best that we can, so they'll be successful, not just this moment they're having a hard time in, but an hour from now, and when they come back tomorrow, the slate is clean, and you're going to have a great day today. And that's why I always say, I'm so glad you're here.
You're the Teacher of the Year for Village Green. You're the ambassador for the school. In that role, you could have to speak to many different people, lawmakers, parents, colleagues. What would your message be?
My message would be to probably be an advocate for education. But if you really want to know the situation that you might be voting for or rallying for, you need to be a part and not to be outside of the realm. Come inside, you know, come inside and see what it's like in the trenches, may I ask, you know? What's it like in that condition? So you can see all points of views on different angles. So that's what I would say.
Let me leave you with the words of Albert Einstein when he said, "It is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge." And I'm sure that that's what you're doing every day at Village Green. Mr. Davis, thank you for joining us. Dr. Reynolds, congratulations on your selection as a Teacher of the Year for Village Green. Best wishes.
Thank you, sir.
You made her college years possible, opening that education savings account when she was little, spearheading campus tours, and deciphering financial aid. If you can ace planning for college, you can do it for retirement. Get on track with tips at aceyourretirement.org.
Please help me welcome at this time Prudence Gilliam, who is the fantastic Teacher of the Year at Weatherby Elementary School. Ms. Gilliam, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Perry.
She's brought along with her the proud principal of Weatherby Elementary, Ms. Kimberly Kane. Ms. Kane, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, Ms. Gilliam, we are always excited when we have an opportunity to do this Teacher of the Year celebration show because it gives us the perfect opportunity to introduce some of our wonderful teachers to all of our viewers. You represent the brightest and the best that we have in St. Lucie Public Schools, and it's good to let our viewers know and see those teachers that are working hard every day for the betterment of all of our children. Now, Ms. Kane, Ms. Gilliam, we know that everybody that's at Weatherby tuning in to see you guys and support you guys tonight. So we have those viewers, though, that don't know who you wonderful ladies are. So, Ms. Gilliam, we're going to start with you first and ask you to give us a brief introduction.
So, I'm Jamaican born. I went to Shortwood Teachers College in Jamaica. That's where you go to a concentrated teaching school where it's just focused on teaching. I taught in Jamaica 2 years after that in the high school. Then I left and lived in the Cayman Islands where I did an advanced degree from Leicester University in England, and I taught there for 7 years. I then moved to the United States where I've been teaching at Weatherby ever since. I teach the 5th grade. I'm part of the most wonderful 5th grade team you can find, and my principal will attest to that. We work cohesively, we empower each other. And I think we're doing a world of good, not only at Weatherby, but in Fort Pierce at large.
Thank you. Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Introduce yourself as well, please.
Well, my name is Kimberly Kane, and this is my 28th year in the district. Kind of grown up through the district. Started as a paraprofessional, worked my way into a teaching position, coaching positions, assistant principal, and now I'm in my 2nd year at Weatherby. So I am the proud principal and proud to be a Mariner.
Well, ladies, again, thank you. Let's start off by talking about what's a typical day like in the 5th grade class of Miss Prudence Gilliam.
Oh boy, we don't have all day, do we? Okay, a typical day at Weatherby in 5th grade is never boring. Every student is unique. So we departmentalize, so I'm responsible for reading and writing. So when our kids come in, we start immediately. There's no time lapse at Weatherby. It's go, go, go. Our pacing is very energetic. So the minute students come in at about 8, we typically don't wait until 8:45. 5th grade, we pull them in, and that gives us a little one-on-one time to have that little personal conversation with our students, see where they're at, get ourselves mentally prepared for the day. Then we begin to move into our different subject areas. I would typically have my own homeroom in the morning, and then in the afternoon we transition next door, and I get the students that are next door. During a reading block, which is 90 minutes, for which I'm responsible, 30 minutes of that is whole group. And usually whole group is hitting that standard. We're all standard based. Curriculum-wise, we stick to the standard, and we do it very rigorously and rigidly. So we have our whole group where we address the students as a whole, but then we break off into my favorite, which is small groups. I love differentiated instruction because that's when I have my students in groups of 5 or 6 where I can meet them one-on-one at their own level, stretch them, and address their needs. And of course, our favorite time, PE. When we go to recess, of course, teachers love the recess, if it's even to get our walk in, because that's our downtime. And then this year we have SEL, social and emotional learning, and that is like one of the most beautiful parts of our day, because that's when we put aside the academic curriculum and then get to speak to students about, now it's free time, let your hair down. What do you want to talk about? What drives you? What makes you happy? What did you like today? What didn't you like today? Let's build together as a class.
So, Ms. Kane,
Yes.
you are the lucky one who gets to see this magic in that best 5th grade environment,
Yes, it
but
is.
specifically Ms. Gilliam's class.
Yes.
Tell us, what is it like when you visit?
Well, walking into the classroom, it's very busy, but it's a very academic, kids talking about the work. If they're not in whole group, my favorite time also to go to her classroom is during small group. She's leading or facilitating a small group, but the kids are also leading and facilitating their own work. A lot of chatter, academic chatter, amongst the kiddos, and we can even find a student or two sometimes leading a group under Ms. Gilliam's guidance. So she teaches them to be facilitators of their learning and others' learning as well.
So, Ms. Gilliam, did you always know that you wanted to be a teacher?
No.
When did you decide?
My mother decided.
Your mom decided?
Yes, my mother wanted to be a teacher, and circumstances did not bring that about. So then she decided, you're going to be a teacher. My mother holds teachers in the highest esteem you can imagine. So when I graduated school, I said, Mom, I want to be a psychologist. She said, well, we can't afford that right now, and I think you can be better. I said, what's better than being a child psychologist? Says, you're going to be a teacher. My mother was right.
Good.
I'm happy I found my spot. I'm a teacher.
So as you reflect on your mother's decision for you to become a teacher, do you think that there might have been some teachers that you patterned yourself after or that inspired you from your past?
There's one teacher, Miss Hamilton, when I was in elementary school. I'm a bookworm. I gobble up books. That's my happy place to be when I'm in a book. And I almost didn't do much work, so I was always getting in trouble because when I'm given work, I'm sneaking book. I'll have a book hidden inside my math book, a little book hidden inside that I'm reading. And I got in a lot of trouble for that with all my teachers, except for Miss Hamilton. Miss Hamilton saw something and she says, you're going to do, she told me I was going to be an author. Who knows, maybe that'll be later. But she pushed me, and she used that love of reading to drive everything else. And when she started to accept that this is what I loved, she used it to push me. And she says, science is reading, math is reading, social studies is reading, all these other subjects, the foundation is reading. So I'd say Miss Hamilton is the one that, if I should put a teacher on that pedestal, it would be Miss Hamilton.
So what advice would you offer to a new teacher?
Oh boy, a new teacher. Have a plan, Dr. Perry. Have a plan. Never go in there and play it by ear. The students will know. Always have a plan. Be the one in charge, but be willing to learn from the students. Each student is unique. Be real, Dr. Perry. Our students know when we're fakes. They want you to be real, and they want you to get to know them and share yourself with them. Have your bag filled with activities, because with downtime will come behaviors that are not very acceptable and that will throw off your class. So have your arsenal of fun activities to keep students actively engaged. And include parents from the get-go, from the beginning. Send home a note, say a hi, send something positive with the parents. Let them see that we're in this together, so that they will encourage the children to also do their best and not to do something that would work against what you're trying to do in the classroom.
So if I was to visit your class and pull the student to the side and say, tell me about this, Miss Gilliam, what would they say?
She's awesome, Dr. Perry. Is that too much? No. Okay. They'll tell you that we have fun. I'll be honest. Miss Kane can attest to that. We have fun. Today, my Phoebe said, the best part of my day is when I come in at 8 o'clock and you're dancing. So we sing and we dance. It's a relaxing time. They'll say we activities. We do activities over and over. And the students are actively engaged. Passive learning doesn't work for our kids, Dr. Perry. So what we have is games. We make educational games out of every activity. If we're doing vocabulary, we do toss the ring, where we toss a ring over an egg. They break the egg open. There is a sentence or a paragraph with the word. You find the context clues. There is Jeopardy main idea. There is theme Wheel of Fortune. We keep everything fast but adequately paced and fully engaged.
So, Ms. Kane, describe Ms. Gilliam for me, please, using 3 adjectives, and explain to us why.
The first one that comes to mind is the facilitator in her, that she actually can lead and guide not only her grade group, she is the team leader of 5th grade, but also other committees, the reading committee that she's involved in, but most importantly the students, that she can inspire them to be leaders and facilitators of their own learning and each other's learning, as she talked about Phoebes in her classroom. Also very exuberant. She has a passion. She's fun, but she knows when fun is got to be kind of calmed down just a little bit. But the kids are always excited for learning when they're in the classroom. And thirdly, very genuine. I think that is probably her biggest quality or main quality, that you get what you get with Prudence, and we've had conversations about that. The kids trust her. They know that she's very fair, and what she says she means, and she holds them to that higher standard as well.
Ms. Gilliam, tell me, what are your goals for this year?
This year, and this might hit Miss Kane a little on the blind side, I want to get dancing going. The kids need something more, Dr. Perry, because we are so curriculum focused. They need an out. And what I've found, and especially this year, last year and this year, we have some kids that, a lot of kids have their different home environments, and we need an outlet. Recess is fine, everything, but they need something non-academic to release whatever emotions, to express themselves. So with Miss Kane's permission, I'm trying to get outsiders. I dance, but I'm not very good at it. But we're trying to get outsiders who are better able to come, not to teach the kids professional, but just to give them that little, as an extracurricular activity, that they are able to release. So dancing is one area that I'm interested in becoming involved in. And secondary area would be to better my Spanish. We have a lot of ESOL students, and oh my, they hunger for knowledge. They want more. And the language barrier, sometimes it's exactly that. So one of my goals is to better improve my Spanish, so that I'm better able to facilitate their learning.
So, at school, what are you most proud of?
Oh boy. I'm proud of my students' accomplishment. I am proud when a student comes to me at a lower level than the 5th grade, and that student makes choices. One year I had one child who says, I need to be moved from a part of the team, because I seat my students in groups. And I said, with your parents' permission, I moved him apart. And when I moved that child apart, he went from a level 2 in FSA reading to a level 4. I'm proud of that. He made the choices to better his progress. I'm proud when a student comes to me with behaviors that would make you pull your hair, and by the first month or 2, you begin to see the choices. You teach the students alternatives, and you begin to see that student, instead of kicking a chair, that student will raise his hand and say, may I take a walk to calm down? And then by the end of the year, you have that student socializing more, problem solving in a more acceptable manner, rather than doing it in a most inappropriate and sometimes unsafe manner. I'm proud of that. I'm proud when a student who isolates herself, suddenly she says to me, I made 2 extra friends last year, Miss G, and this year I think I'm going to, that's my Phoebes. She says, I think I'm going to try to open myself more, and so that I can have more friends. And this is a student who normally wouldn't go out there and make friends. So I am proud when I see a permanent change, not just academically, but in the behavior of my students. That's what tells me if and how much of a success I am.
So, when did you first fall in love with teaching?
The very first year of Teachers College, Chartwood Teachers College, Kingston, Jamaica. Rookie, new first year, we were sent to do 2 weeks observation in the classroom. That's it, we were not supposed to teach. Just to observe and use it as, do you still want to do this? And after that, I went that first day, the teacher says, take it away, it's yours. I said, I'm not supposed to teach. I'm supposed to observe you teaching. She says, you've been observing teaching all your life. Take it away. I took it away. I fell in love with teaching 2 weeks into my first year of preparation school.
Cool, cool. So, Ms. Kane, what makes Ms. G the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Well, trying new things. I'm super excited to hear that she wants to do something with dancing.
Yes.
This is something we've not talked about, But I do have something to share with her, that our PE coach is going to teach 5th grade some dancing. So this would be a great partnership, and I'm excited for that. Maybe you teach me some steps. I'll get out there with the kiddos.
The camel will try to dance, but I enjoy.
So, Ms. G, thinking about education today, we know that we're faced with many different issues and concerns. What do you see as would be your number one concern for education?
My number one concern is the rigidity of standardized testing. Whereby all students are measured with one measuring stick. That's my biggest concern, Dr. Perry, because students learn at different paces and they learn differently. A standardized test, while it has its place, it doesn't necessarily tell me how much my Lochner grew. You know, he might have remained at that level 2 at the end of the year, but his daily work shows so much more progress. It doesn't show me that a child's entire attitude and behavior towards learning, that child has done a 360 degree. So I don't have the perfect answer. I'm very happy that standardized testing is being looked at by the governing body in Florida. So hopefully when this is addressed, we will find a medium that is that will more represent our students' abilities.
Okay, final question for you. You are the teacher of the year for Weatherby. You could be the teacher of the year for St. Lucie Public Schools. But in any essence, you are already an ambassador for education. Yes. You could be called on at any time to speak to lawmakers, to your other colleagues, constituents, those that have a concern. What would your message be, Ambassador Gilliam?
Invest in our public schools. Invest in our public schools. They are the future. And if you meet our kids, their behavior, their attitudes, they are at the brink of something great. Invest in them. Give them the tools that they need in order to succeed. And not just academic. Give them anything to do with behavior. Give them the PE supplies. Give them the extracurricular activities, the after-school tuition that parents might not be able to afford, but that which the child need. Invest in arts. We need the students because we're developing the whole student, not just the academic. We want our student not just ready for college, but ready for beyond, where they become problem solvers, thinkers. Invest in the science, Dr. Perry, science and math, where you have all genders equally contributing. That would be, I think, the focus of any speech I give would be invest more adequately, enough, so that our kids have everything that we as a nation have to give for the student to be able to attain that high level of achievement.
Well, Ms. Gilliam, Albert Swisher said these words: "Sometimes our light goes out, but is blown into flame by another human being. Each of us owes our deepest thanks to those who have rekindled this light." Thank you for making sure that the lights of those wonderful 5th grade students shine bright at Weatherby. Ms. Kane, thank you for joining us on the show today. And congratulations on your selection.
Thank you so much. My pleasure, and we'll keep the flame burning.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
You made your house a reality. Homeschooling yourself on loans, color-coding listings, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. If you can ace house hunting, you can do it for retirement. Get on track with tips at aceyourretirement.org.
It's my pleasure to welcome to our show at this time Miss Holly Herndon, who's the fantastic teacher of the year for Fairlawn Elementary Magnet School. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
She's brought along with her the very proud principal of Fairlawn, Ms. Heather Ricksecker. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We are always excited when we have an opportunity to do this show because it gives us an opportunity to celebrate teachers and the wonderful teachers that we have in St. Lucie County that you represent. I can guarantee you that everybody at Fairlawn is tuning in to see this interview today. But we have some amazing viewers that tune in also. So would you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
I am Holly Herndon. I was born and raised in Vero. I graduated from Vero Beach High School, went on to IRSC where I completed my 2 years, got my AA, then went on to UCF, got my bachelor's degree in elementary education, and I started teaching in 2002, so I've been teaching for 18 years. This is my 18th year, 9 of which have been at Fairlawn.
And what are you currently teaching?
I teach 2nd grade.
Cool. Ms. Rick is up.
My name is Heather Ricksecker, and I am the proud principal of Fairlawn Elementary. I graduated from Lincoln Park Academy, attended the University of Florida, go Gators, and I got my master's,
right?
a little bit, got my master's of educational leadership at American College of Education, and I started in the district at Pace Center for Girls, and this is my 15th year in the district and first as principal.
So, Ms. Herndon, what's the typical day in the 2nd grade classroom of Holly Herndon like?
A typical day would include a classroom of love, a classroom of learning engagement, a lot of cooperative learning, the students learning to not only talk academics with each other, but to also socialize with each other, and just ignite like a love of learning for all the children.
Have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
I don't think I always knew. At first, I feel like I first realized it my first year in college. I kind of had to, figure out where I was going in my life, what degree I wanted to go for. And I realized all of my past jobs had to do with children. I was a summer camp counselor, I was an after-school teacher, well, not teacher, a counselor, I guess you could say. And it was always working with kids, whether it was teaching them how to bowl during the summer or how to do a cartwheel in the gymnastics class. It always made me feel good when I could help them master a skill. So it was then that I realized that teaching was a perfect profession for me, where I could get that fulfillment and continue to help students and children.
So as you reflect over these past 18 years, do you think that there's someone that inspired you to become an educator?
I feel like I was fortunate to have a lot of great educators in my education career. I can think of my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Streetman, all the way through high school with coaches and teachers. They were always there. I felt like I was always in a safe classroom, a loving classroom. So I think there was a variety of inspirations.
Now, Ms. Ricksecker, you're the one that gets to see this magic happen every day, this love that Ms. Herndon spoke about. Share with us what it is that you see and hear, feel when you visit her class.
Well, when you walk into her classroom, you automatically have a sense of community. She's created a family environment. All of her students are kind to one another because that's something that she's very, very cognizant of when she talks to her students. She has a smile that ignites a room, and I think her children know that that smile means that they're loved and they're safe, and that's just, it permeates her room from her students to her to everyone that walks into her room. So it's a culture of love and learning in her classroom.
Ms. Herndon, what advice would you offer to a new teacher?
To a new teacher, I would say 2 things. One would definitely be to grow and create those relationships with the students within your classroom. Because when they feel like they have a teacher there that they are safe with, that they can trust, you can pull a lot out of them. And also to lean on your colleagues, to ask those questions, to learn those new strategies and techniques from experienced teachers that you have yourself surrounded with.
So if I was to visit your classroom and pull a kid over to the side, tell me about this, Ms. Herndon. What do you think I'd hear?
Probably that we're a little silly in class, that we do a lot of talking as a classroom. We problem solve with each other. We do a lot of cooperative learning, like I had said before, where they get to buddy up in either pairs or small groups. And that just kind of keeps the classroom flowing. Lots of movement.
2nd graders can be a little antsy. How do you purposefully plan engagement to keep them involved in learning?
I not only plan by myself, but collaboratively with my team. I have an awesome group of women that we work really well together, and we make sure that we have that direct instruction for a small amount of time, but we also include the Kagan structures, the short videos maybe to introduce a lesson to really hook their interest. We do songs or poems, whatever it is that we can do to really ignite them and to get them interested and hooked in whatever lesson that we're presenting to them.
Tell me, how do you employ the use of technology to help instruction?
Technology is used in a variety of ways. We have computers within the classroom. Students during their reading centers or their math centers log on to iReady, They have reading counts, which is a really big component that I use in my classroom, and also Imagine Learning. We do PowerPoints, the Think Central. Kids can access the stories that we're currently reading in the classroom to just have that one-on-one technology if they need to revisit something. And also I enjoy using, I have what's called a Smart Slate. It allows me to write on the board while walking around the classroom so I can really have that full circle.
Ms. Ricksecker, tell me 3 adjectives that describes Ms. Herndon and explain to us why you've chosen those 3.
Ooh, 3, that's limiting. I would start by saying she's an advocate, not only for her students, but also for her peers. The students know that Ms. Herndon's going to do everything that she can to get whatever they need, from learning to basic needs. And her peers know that if they feel strongly about something, she's going to be on board to help have their voices heard. I would also say she's a leader. She really took lead in bringing Girls on the Run to Fairlawn this year, which is a great program to help empower and build confidence within our girls as they grow year to year. And I would also say that she's kind. Like I said before, she has an infectious smile and a spirit about her that really just everybody wants to be around her. They go to her to feel better. She really does just make everyone feel special through the kindness that she shows.
Ms. Herndon, what are your goals for this year?
My goals for this year and probably every year is to have my students prepared for their future, to be ready to, move on to 3rd grade with confidence, with the instructional techniques that they can use in order to master the next year.
Tell me something that you're most proud of at Fairlawn.
I think I'm most proud of Fairlawn. We're a family, Fairlawn is. From the students to the teachers to the administration, all around the campus. It's a family. We have that connection with our students, even students that are now in 5th grade. I get hugs in the hallways. I'm not forgotten about way down in 2nd grade. So definitely the family-friendly atmosphere at Fairlawn.
When did you first fall in love with teaching?
First fall in love. I would probably have to say my 2nd year of teaching. The first year was a little rough. I taught 5th grade. It was just kind of getting my feet wet, understanding how the classroom really worked, having a classroom of my own, not somebody else's to take over. And then my 2nd year of teaching is when I found 2nd grade. So out of the 18 years, I've been in 2nd grade for 16 of those years. And just those little minds that just get excited when they learn something new, and a lot of the aha moments, and being able to just build the relationships I have with my students.
Ms. Ricksecker, tell me, when we look at Ms. Herndon and her work on campus, she's got to be involved in many things just to be selected as the Teacher of the Year. Share with us some of those things that she may be involved with.
Well, truly, there's not much she's not involved with, because if you ask her to do anything, whether it's administration asking her or a teammate or a student with a suggestion, she rarely says no. So this year, a big part of Fairlawn and Ms. Herndon is the Girls on the Run. That's the program that I spoke about earlier to help empower girls and build their confidence. They met twice a week for multiple weeks, and it was culminated to a 5K race in Vero that was just really a great thing to be a part of and see the unity that those girls had with one another and with Ms. Herndon and the other staff that were a part of that. She helps with play practice. We have Annie going on at school that's going to be done in the Riverside Theater in Vero, so she assists with that. She's been team leader in the past. She helps just with anything and everything that we could possibly need.
Ms. Herndon, why do you think you chose teaching as a profession?
I think it's just the warmth I get inside, working with children, knowing, as corny as it may sound, they are our future. Being able to mold and shape and give the tools to those students to help create compassionate kids that turn into compassionate adults. To see them get excited about learning, to get excited about reading, and to watch them carry that throughout the years.
You're teaching second grade.
Yeah.
How do you see the work that you do preparing students to be college and or career ready?
You know, second grade is that the primary years. We really lay the foundation for the students. And in order for them to have that solid career throughout high school and into college, they need to start with a solid foundation. So definitely think, you know, second grade helps to lay that and to solidify it so that they're ready to continue and build upon that in the years to come.
So what makes your candidate the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
I just think that the quality she does everything with, the quality of her lesson planning, the quality of their relationships that she builds with her students and with her peers and with the community. Everything that she does is purposeful, and the quality that she does everything with just really is unparalleled.
Let's switch gears a little bit, Ms. Herndon.
Okay.
Share with us a fun fact about Ms. Herndon and an interest outside of Fairlawn.
Fun fact, I'm a New Year's baby, so at the stroke of midnight, my phone is flooded with texts, you know, through social media. I have lots of messages in my inbox, so it's always a great way to start off the year with,
Cool.
you know, feeling the love from friends and family.
Great,
Yeah.
great. As an educator, what fuels you? 18 years in, what
Yeah.
fuels you?
You know, you had asked me when was the first time I had fallen in love with teaching. And I feel like I fall in love all over again every single year. You know, I start out with a fresh new group. I get them where they need to be. I'm exhausted by the end of the year. You know, I get that summer break, and then middle of summer, I start thinking and
Itching.
Yeah, we're texting with the women that I work with. What new tools can we try? What new activities can we do? And then you get that class list and you start looking through the yearbook, seeing what your class is going to look like, the faces that are going to be made up of your class. And it's just exciting to just build those relationships all over again, to learn, you know, about the little girl that loves basketball, or, you know, the boys that are football players or wrestlers. It's fun to really get to know my students.
I want you to think about this next question all-encompassing and not just limited to your career as an educator, but about life. What do you know for sure?
I know for sure that kids need a role model, a positive role model, not necessarily maybe a superstar or a football player, but someone that's real in their life. I think of Rita Pearson when she says, like, every kid needs a champion. Yeah, you know, they need to know that somebody's rooting for them, whether they're having a bad day or they're having a good day, whether they bring home that perfect paper or they bring home the paper, you know, like she said, it might say -11, but you got a +4, you know, so I think it's important, you know, that kids feel that they have someone in their corner, and I believe that helps them, you know, to be successful.
Ms. Ricksecker, is there anything that we haven't spoken about that you want to share about Ms. Herndon?
Just that she's completely fabulous, and Fairlawn is beyond blessed to have her as a St. Lucie County. And she's mentioned multiple times the relationship that she has with her team, her colleagues that teach second grade. And I've never seen a group of educators work so seamlessly together. And I think that just holds true to the educator in person that she is through and through.
Ms. Herndon, finish this phrase for me. I believe
that every student has a chance to be successful, has a chance to become whoever they want to be. They just need a little love.
We're going to wrap it up, okay?
Okay.
You're the 2020 Teacher of the Year for Fairlawn Elementary. Could possibly be the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public Schools in the state of Florida. In your role as Teacher of the Year, you're the Ambassador for Education. In that role, you will be called upon to speak to lawmakers, to colleagues, to parents about education. The ambassador, what would your message be?
I think my message would be, it's about the kids. And we have to remember that. We have to see that, you know, if something isn't working or if that children need a little bit more, you know, creative discovery through play or time to develop social skills a little bit more, that we need to kind of take a step back and see how that, you know, we can make that possible, how we can help them achieve that.
Ever Garrison told us these words: "A teacher is a compass that activates the magnets of curiosity, knowledge, and wisdom in the pupils." Thank you for doing just that with the students that you work with every day. Ms. R, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having
me.
me.
And congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year for Fairlawn Elementary.
Thank you.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made this vacation happen.
Double points with every purchase?
Cleverly merging promotions,
I love it.
cross-referencing travel sites, and booking all your flights with those
Vouchers. I got us bumped.
They were like, oh, but now they're like, aloha. You aced this vacation. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
At this time, we're going to welcome to our Teacher of the Year celebration show the wonderful Miss Shawna Porty. Miss Porty, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Along with her is the awesome principal from St. Lucie West K-8 School, Mr. Eldrick Gardner. Mr. Gardner, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We love doing this show, Ms. Porty, because it gives us an opportunity to share with all our amazing viewers the awesome teachers that we have here in St. Lucie Public Schools. And I can guarantee you, Mr. Gardner, Ms. Porty, that everybody at St. Lucie West K is tuning in to see what we're going to talk about and to help us celebrate you and your selection. But we have some amazing viewers who don't know who the wonderful Ms. Porty is. So if you would please introduce yourself to them at this time.
Okay, my name is Shawna Porty. I am married to Wayne, who's also an educator with St. Lucie Public Schools. We have two children, Christopher, 18, and Alyssa, she'll be 17 in a couple weeks. I'm originally from Fairmont, West Virginia, and we moved here about 15 years ago or so.
And where did you go to school?
I went to Ashford University. It's an online school. I did traditional college as well, but I finished up at Ashford. I went for my bachelor's degree in education studies.
And what are you currently teaching?
Second grade at St. Lucie West K-8.
Second grade at St. Lucie West K-8. Mr. Gardner, introduce yourself, please.
Okay. My name is Eldrick Gardner, and I'm the principal of St. Lucie West K-8 School. I have been the principal at St. Lucie West K-8 School for 5 years, and it has been a distinct pleasure to serve the students, faculty, and staff, and the greater community of St. Lucie West K-8. I started my career at that school about some 17 years ago, and full circle have come back to an awesome environment in which we offer an ocean of learning possibility to our students.
And where did you go to high school?
I am a product of St. Lucie County. I graduated from Lincoln Park Academy. I dare not say the year, but it has been a wonderful, wonderful experience to come back to the very public school that served me.
And your college?
I'm a graduate of Florida A&M, and I've attended the University of South Florida and Nova Southeastern University.
I had to make sure that I got that Lincoln Park in there because all of our friends in the community, he didn't tell us that he's a Lincoln Park Greyhound. So we can't do that. But Ms. Porty, back to you.
Yes.
Now, second grade. Tell me, what's a typical day like in Ms. Porty's second grade classroom?
In second grade, we have a lot of fun. We start off with our morning circle time where we have our social emotional learning. We have a classroom handshake that we do with one another every day. We have to make sure that we greet each other and make eye contact, firm handshakes. And then we go into our reading, and we have a lot of fun in reading. We do our small group instruction. We do our ready, of course, reading centers, and then we would have, let's see, resource, lunch. Then we come back, we have some phonics instruction, which they absolutely love, and then math, which is my favorite part of the day. And then they have recess, which is probably their favorite part of the day, and then RTI.
So tell me why math is your favorite part of the day.
Math is my favorite part of the day because I personally struggle with math a lot growing up. And now that I'm a teacher, teaching it has helped me understand just basic number sense in a way that I never understood it as a student myself.
So have you always known that you wanted to be a teacher?
No, I did not.
When did you decide?
I came to St. Lucie West K-8 in 2014 as a clerk, and just being surrounded by the learning environment and seeing these teachers and the changes and the growth that they were getting from these students, that's what inspired me to teach.
So, because you were at St. Lucie West as a clerk, and then you go into a classroom at St. Lucie West, somebody or multiple people, teachers, inspired you, do you think, to become a teacher?
Absolutely.
Share with us.
Absolutely. It's my colleagues, just seeing their interactions with these students and how they were, I guess, interacting with them, and just being around them and seeing how the students were, oh, this is not good. I messed up on this one. Can we back up?
No.
No, okay. Just being around the students and the teachers, sorry, just being around the students and the teachers.
That's okay. Well, we know that teachers and students gravitate to each other, and the collaboration that they share kind of rubs off on us each and every day, and I think that's what I hear you saying about your experiences there. Mr. Gardner, you get to experience that magic every day when you visit Ms. Porty's class. Share with us, please.
Well, to be in Mrs. Porty's class is a wonderful example of what teaching and learning should look like. You will find technology peppered throughout the day in her classroom. I've gone in there and the lights are off and the black light is on, and the students have their neon markers out doing the math, and it just is an electrifying environment. And she has created it, and the energy level that you see in her classroom is second to none. So our students and our school, we are the better because she's there.
Neon markers and black lights.
It's fun.
Oh, it sounds fun.
It's a lot of fun.
I can just imagine the space now and what it looks like.
It really is.
Cool, cool. So, you're the teacher of the year, and you have your colleagues, but you have some new teachers there. What advice would you offer to a new teacher?
To a new teacher, I would say be honestly reflectful of yourself. It's not always what did the students do wrong or not get. You have to think about what could I have done differently, or what did I do wrong? How can I change things?
I got to go back to that marker thing and the black light. It appears to me that those kinds of activities and tools for learning help engage students. How else do you engage students in the learning?
I read a lot of grants, so I have a lot of technology in my classroom. We use iPads, and we have different apps that we use, like Class Kick. There's a website, GimKit, that my students absolutely love. I just make sure that all of my activities are activities that it may not, for example, the board game Operation. I may not use Operation in the same sense of how we would play the normal board game, but that could just be another tool to engage them, to keep them on track with whatever academic thing that we're doing. And then, hey, you get to go and pull a card or try to pull a body part out of, Operation game.
Cool. So, Mr. Gardner, describe Ms. Porty for me, please, using 3 adjectives, and explain to our viewers why you've chosen those 3.
To use 3 adjectives to describe Mrs. Porty, I found it very difficult. But one of the things, as I began to see what it is that I see on a daily basis, she is innovative, she's passionate, and she is dedicated. When we talk about innovation, going back to the black lights and the neon markers, what a marvelous way to teach what would have been a normal paper and pencil activity, just to dim the lights and see the neon flowing and the excitement in the students. That is truly an innovative way to teach math. Not only does she use the black markers, but she has this mic that is a gimbal, a cue ball, and it's a microphone that is lodged in a ball. And she tosses the ball, and whoever she tosses that ball to has the ability to answer and project in the ball, and it's amplified through the PA system in the classroom. So that's just one example of the innovation. When we talk about passion, it is her desire that all of her students succeed and that they learn more than that they're currently learning. And she is very reflective. Sometimes I think she takes a measure of ownership in the students' learning that I wish that all of our teachers would take, and dedication. It is sometimes that we have to run her out of the building and tell her that she's not allowed to come into the building on the weekends because she is truly dedicated to the teaching and learning process. And I can only reiterate that our school and our students are the better because she is a part of Shark Nation.
So, Ms. Porty, knowing that you started as a clerk and joined your colleagues as an educator there, teacher there, and the experiences that you have had, tell me, when do you think it was that you first fell in love with teaching?
I'm reflective, so I've definitely given this some thought just throughout my career. And I would say day 2 of my career when I started.
Tell me why day 2?
Day 2, because day 1 would be like the first date. You're not sure if you quite like the person yet. There was a lot going on, a lot of chaos. But I liked it.
But you liked it.
But I liked it. And so on day 2.
The date 2. That was
the
date
2.
Yeah.
When I came back, I was like, okay, I can do this. I like this. I really, really
we can hold hands.
like this.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
We can become partners.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Cool.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, it's a wonderful profession.
It is.
When will you know that you are a success?
Every day is different as far as my definition of success. I am successful if I can get student A to read all of his sight words. That makes me successful in that day, in that moment. I'm successful if my students do well on an iReady diagnostic. I'm successful if at the end of the year I see growth in all of my students, and it's not necessarily academic growth. It can be social growth, emotional growth. So I don't have an end game. I don't have an end of the road of when I will cross that finish line of success. It's ongoing. It's constantly going.
Mr. Gardner, what makes Ms. Porty the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Mrs. Porty is the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year because she is a champion for children and she is an ambassador for excellence. One of the things that we hear as she speaks, she's reflective. And through her reflection, she is acutely sensitive to the needs of students so that she can plan for a well-rounded environment for students in which not only their academic needs are met, but their social and emotional needs are met. She is truly the epitome of the art and science of teaching. She understands that there is true content and academics that need to be taught, but there is an artful and a graceful way in which it should be done. And I think that every day that she comes on our campus, she seeks to do the finesse that's necessary to engage our students in technology so that they can be successful and move to the next level.
Ms. Porty, you teach in 2nd grade, so our students have 10 more years to go. How do you see yourself preparing these students to be college and or career ready?
I think that I am preparing them because I'm very intentional in every aspect of my teaching. And I seek to motivate and educate and empower them. And so if I can instill those values in them or help to instill those values in them, those are things hopefully that will help them navigate difficult times ahead if they encounter that.
What are your goals for this year?
I want to see 100% growth in all of my students. Academically. I do have some social emotional goals for them as well. I would like to attend more PDs, maybe in Atlanta, Georgia.
That's a great place to do some professional development.
Isn't it?
I totally agree with you. Totally. Can I go with you?
Let's go.
Let's go, okay. So, tell me, what are you most proud of?
Me.
Explain that for our viewers.
I think I am proud of me because I didn't start off the traditional route of getting to where I am now. I started off in the medical field as a clerk, and I wanted to go to college for healthcare administration. Found my way into the school system by chance, and then, of course, saw this beautiful thing happening at my school and felt that I wanted to be a part of that. And I don't know.
I love how you say my school.
Yeah.
The ownership there.
It is.
Yes. What fuels you?
Purpose.
And what would that purpose be?
My purpose is to make these little mini humans the best people that they can be.
Mr. Gardner, we've spoken a lot. Tell me, is there anything else that you want to add that maybe we didn't discuss?
Well, I think there's so many other great attributes that Mrs. Porty brings to this profession. One of the things that she has taken hold of is our Kindness Club. And she has her students every Monday in the parent pickup. And they have signs and they're chanting almost as if they're welcoming students out of their cars into this wonderful environment. Another idea that she brought to me in regards to the Kindness Club, where we will have these big letters to spell kindness, but the only letter that will be missing is the letter I. And injected in for the I will be people, students. And we're going to take this and run with it. She's innovative, she thinks out the box, and as I tell her whenever she brings things to my attention, the short answer is yes. Now how we do it, we'll figure it out together. Our students and our school is the better because Mrs. Porty is here.
Ms. Porty, we have to wrap it up, but I want to try to get a couple of more things in.
Okay.
Because I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on issues that you think are plaguing education today, that are concerning for education today. So tell me, what do you think is the main issue that's concerning for education today?
Of course, today we have tons of teachers in Tallahassee for teacher pay. That definitely is plaguing the educational system.
Tell me, what is it that you know for sure when you think about all of your experiences, and don't just limit it to education, but all-encompassing? What do you know for sure?
I know for sure that you need to build relationships with those around you, be compassionate, be kind, have a heart.
Well, I'm anxious, number one,
I'll get it to you,
to come to your class and play with the markers.
Let's go.
And make sure that you include me when Mr. Gardner decides that we're going to go to Atlanta for some professional development.
You got it.
We're there.
Going.
Okay, we're there. And let me leave you with these words. The teacher takes a hand, opens the mind, touches the heart, and shapes the future. And with the kindness that you're exuding on your campus, I'm sure that's exactly what you're doing. Mr. Gardner, thank you for joining us. And Ms. Porty, congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie West KA.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable, and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
As a teacher, you have chosen the most challenging and most rewarding profession there is or ever will be. Imagine the light in the eyes of a newly motivated student, the smile on a child's face when a seemingly unfathomable concept is finally grasped. Thank you for being such wonderful teachers, role models, and caring people. Every day you make a difference, and every day you do that something that truly matters. Every day you leave an undeniable mark on the future. Thank you and congratulations for being the Teacher of the Year in St. Lucie Public Schools.